Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 321, Mutual Admiration, 2 chapters combined. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. In the night sky, the iron-winged parrot's crest of feathers stood on end, its voice trembling as it frantically shrieked for help. Have the founding ancestors launched a major offensive on the main battlefield? Qinming leapt to his feet, his gaze fixed on the panicked messenger bird. The iron-winged parrot's feathers puffed out. No, Your Excellency. Hurry to Panxi Town. My master can't hold out much longer, he is on the verge of falling in battle. Panxi Town, a neighboring settlement, was under attack. A bloody conflict had erupted, with an elderly guardian locked in combat with demons. Without hesitation, Qinming mounted the Thunder King bird and sped toward the besieged town. During the journey, the iron-winged parrot perched on his shoulder relayed the details. Recently, the demons had grown increasingly restless, constantly provoking skirmishes. In recent days, they had even begun crossing the border, encroaching on human settlements. Human strategists speculated that the hardline faction within the demon ranks had gradually gained dominance in the depths of the Divine Fall Plains. These warmongering old demons scoffed at the authority of Jade Capital's ancient edicts. Jade Capital itself has vanished, they sneered. What use is a mere edict now? The demons are testing our defenses, Qinming muttered, his brow furrowed. A true war is looming. The storm is gathering. This was hardly good news for him. He still aspired to break through a major bottleneck, to ascend to the third realm solely on his own power, but he didn't know how much time the enemy would give him. Panxi Town and Qingfeng Town were separated by just over 20 li. At the Thunder King bird's speed, they reached the scene of the incident in no time. As expected, the old man was fiercely defending his position. True to his principle of keeping the enemy at bay, he had taken up a solitary guard on a mountain peak 10 miles outside the town, single-handedly holding off 2 demons. On the ground lay the corpse of another demon. His armor was shattered, his body drenched in blood, some of his wounds were so deep that the bone was visible. The long spear in his hand had snapped, leaving him with only a broken shaft, a weapon he was now using to battle a mantis beast, sparks flying from it. High in the air, a bird demon swooped down repeatedly, creating a constant distraction. Demons who dare to cross the border. Do you have a death wish? Qinming roared from a distance, drawing the attention of the 2 demons. He feared the old man wouldn't be able to hold out much longer. As expected, the demons momentarily lost focus, glancing in their direction. Rumble. A thunderous crash split the night sky as Qinming, riding the Thunder King bird at full speed, arrived at the mountain peak. The jade iron sword in his hand flashed with a chilling white light. With a sickening thwack, blood splattered as the bird demon's head separated from its body midair. In a single encounter, the bird demon was slain, unable to withstand even a single strike. On the ground, both the elder and the mantis beast tensed in shock, inwardly marveling at the sword's speed and the terrifying killing intent behind it. With a mere dive, a formidable demon had been annihilated. Qinming landed on the ground and, without pausing, charged straight toward the mantis beast, its sickle-like arms flailing wildly. Young master of the human race, wait. This is a misunderstanding. We lost our way and accidentally trespassed on your territory. The mantis beast cried out, hastily retreating as it spoke. Earlier, it had radiated murderous intent, arrogant and domineering. But the moment it saw its companion cleaved in 2 by a single sword, it completely lost its resolve. Knowing certain death awaited, it had no desire to fight to the bitter end. Qinming ignored its pleas, his sword flashing in a swift arc. With a metallic clang, the mantis beast shrieked as one of its saw-toothed scythe arms fell to the ground. Terrified and utterly unable to defend itself, the mantis beast scrambled backward, desperate to leap into the dense forest. But all its efforts were futile. Qinming's second strike severed its remaining arm, green ichor splattering everywhere. The sword continued its momentum, slicing through the air with a sharp thwack before severing its head as well. The old man stared in disbelief. The 2 demons he had been battling for his life, the very creatures that had nearly killed him, had been slain by this young lad in the blink of an eye, dispatched with just a few simple strokes of his sword. His wrinkled eyes and blood-soaked hair bore witness to his near-death struggle. His chest heaved as he gasped for breath, a testament to his hard-won survival. The iron-winged parrot was equally speechless. In its eyes, the sky seemed to be collapsing. Its master, who had been single-handedly battling a great demon of the third realm and was on the verge of defeat, had been saved in an instant by this young man. Thank you, young friend, for coming to my aid. Otherwise, this old man would have met his end here today, the old man said, clasping his hands in gratitude. Not long after, atop that very mountain peak, the rich aroma of cooked meat began to waft from a bronze cauldron. The 2 men had cooked the bird demon, its flesh remarkably tender and delicious. Paired with aged wine, it was a truly exceptional feast. Seated atop the peak, they gazed at the autumn-hued landscape as they ate and conversed. The old man said, "We have received orders from above. The moment any demons or monsters cross the border, we are to strike immediately." 2 days earlier, a second realm bird demon had provoked them by circling over Panchi town. He had shot it down with an arrow, but today, a third realm demon had attacked. "The demons are testing us, probing our defenses," the old man frowned. It was now almost certain that a war of unprecedented scale was imminent. Qin Ming nodded. The shadow of war had long loomed over the border, making conflict inevitable. The old man slapped his forehead and said, "This old man is Zhao Lei. I truly must be getting senile. I've been calling you, young friend, all this time without even asking for your name." Qin Ming. What? Zhao Lei's eyes widened in disbelief. Then he nodded repeatedly and said, "No wonder. I knew it. Who else from the Path of Awakening could achieve such astonishing feats at your age?" So it turns out it was Brother Qin. Zhao Lei was also from the Path of Awakening and was in the early stages of the Third Realm. With streaks of white at his temples, he was at least 50 years old. For cultivators on the Path of Awakening, reaching this realm at such an age was perfectly normal. This old man is truly fortunate to be stationed in the same region as a future founding ancestor, as neighbors. Zhao Lei's face flushed with excitement. Earlier, Zhao Lei had felt a twinge of bitterness. Qin Ming had slaughtered 2 great demons as easily as slicing vegetables, while he had nearly lost his life struggling against them. Now, however, he felt completely at ease. A person's reputation precedes them. This future ancestor-level figure was destined for such dazzling achievements. A great battle is imminent, Brother Qin. You must be careful. Having slain a third realm demon, there is a high probability that we will face retaliation, the old man said solemnly. Qin Ming nodded. What's coming will come eventually. We'll have to cut them down. If you can't hold your ground here, old brother, lure the demons toward my territory if you're in danger. Zhao Lei rose and bowed deeply to him. After eating the strange bird meat and drinking wine, Qin Ming took his leave. He patrolled his assigned territory before venturing into Qingfeng town. Though the town had a sizable population, it now felt desolate and bleak, with passers-by hurrying along. The brightly lit red lanterns hanging from the tavern seemed festive, but few patrons entered. Even the shops facing the street were struggling to stay open. Only the children remained unaffected, chasing one another and frolicking about. Judging by their worn or tattered clothing, it was clear that their families were not well off. With the demonic army drawing near, the fringes of the human realm had been thrown into turmoil, breeding widespread panic. Many wealthy families had already fled in advance, relocating to the safety of the major cities. The young children continued their chase, their laughter ringing out intermittently. Their carefree innocence proved infectious, dispelling the anxiety Qin Ming felt regarding the looming war. The demons are coming. Aren't you afraid? Qin Ming stopped and asked 2 of the older children. We're not afraid. One replied. My mother says there is a guardian stationed just outside the town who will protect us. She also says there are experts of the second realm patrolling the streets, constantly on guard against a demonic invasion, so we are perfectly safe. Qin Ming understood. This must be how the children's parents comforted them. Families who couldn't afford to relocate to distant cities had no choice but to reassure their children to spare them a life of constant fear. He gazed at their innocent, smiling faces and nodded. Your parents are right. Nothing will happen. You'll all grow up happily. A little girl with bright eyes spoke up. My dad is a powerful expert who has undergone 4 awakenings. He joined the patrol team. He said the immortal seeds and divine seeds from all the Dao lineages are personally stationed at the borders. The higher ups are confident they'll drive the demons back, so we'll definitely be safe. Qin Ming was surprised. You know about immortal seeds and divine seeds, too. A young boy nodded. Yep, we've heard about them. Everyone's talking about it. Even the strongest young cultivators have come to the border to fight demons and hone their skills with demon blood. The great figures must be putting in even more effort. We're definitely going to win this war. Beside him, a child with a dirty face and messy hair chimed in. My cousin said there's an incredibly powerful immortal maiden over there. Her name is Zhang Ran. Yeah, that's her. She's fighting demons on the front lines, battling them in duels and declaring she'll wipe out the entire young generation of demons. Is that really happening? Qin Ming asked, astonished. The boy's dirty face glowed with admiration as he nodded vigorously, like a chick pecking at grain. Yeah. The demons kept provoking them, so she declared that there was no need for them to sneak around and infiltrate our villages and towns in secret. If they had a problem with that, they could just come find her directly for a duel. A slightly older boy, around 12 or 13, nodded. My cousin said Pei Shuyan, Cheng Sheng, Kui Chong, and the others are also incredibly powerful. They've been battling the most powerful young demons lately. The disciples of the Tathagata sect are strong too. Oh, and someone's burning the old demon with divine fire. My grandpa said a big shot from the Hellion clan fought a heavenly demon with arrows and pierced right through it with a single arrow. Good, that's great, Qin Ming nodded. The aroma of cooked meat drifted from nearby, making the children swallow hard as they peered around the street corner. You've given me so much information. Now, let me treat you to some food, Qinming said with a smile. Huh. But we didn't really say anything. Come on, Qinming led them forward. A moment later, he left, leaving the children stuffing their mouths with food, alternately shouting about the heat and eagerly devouring it. Do you think we'll all survive? The two oldest boys murmured. Approaching 15, they were no longer naive. They saw the worry in their families' eyes and couldn't possibly be unaware of the tense atmosphere. If the western border fell, no one in their town would survive. Qinming glanced back from a distance, saying nothing. He didn't know how the final battle would end either, mainly because the demonic beast alliance had overwhelming numbers. Most critically, the divine-like creatures were poised to descend upon the battlefield. It remained uncertain whether the founding ancestors could withstand their onslaught. That night, Qinming received a message from his superiors via messenger bird. Demons had been frequently crossing the border to provoke conflict. He was ordered to kill them on sight, showing no leniency or retreat. Clearly, the founding ancestors were taking a firm stance, fully prepared for a major war. Many had already discerned that the demons were testing their resolve, observing humanity's reactions. Any sign of weakness or retreat would undoubtedly embolden them to push further. Qinming returned to the outskirts of the town and settled into a meditative posture atop a high mountain peak. He resumed his cultivation, cycling through the Silk Book, the Physical Body chapter, the Black and White Scripture, the Vajra Scripture, and other sacred texts. Subsequently, he delved into the true scripture of the Immortal Path, hoping to shift his focus and break through his current bottleneck. A faint, pure yang attributed consciousness spiritual light flickered above his head, slowly rotating. Unfortunately, as it grew stronger through cultivation, it would inevitably be absorbed by his physical body and merge into the heavenly light. Had it not been absorbed into the heavenly light, his daily cultivation would have allowed the consciousness spiritual light to snowball into an increasingly formidable force. Even so, Qinming persisted in practicing the true scripture that Li Qingyu had taught him in the Mountain River Spirit Nest. Later, Li Qingyu had given him the subsequent chapters in the Kunling Secret Realm. If I'm not mistaken, these should be the chapters corresponding to the first two realms of the Luofu sect's fundamental scripture. He had also mastered the techniques for the third realm and beyond. He had obtained tattered sheets of strange metal paper from the Luofu Immortal Mountain ruins, upon which these techniques were recorded. Subsequently, Qinming began studying a fundamental scripture from the esoteric sect, which possessed an equally formidable origin. Long ago, a massive blue centipede, on the verge of becoming a divine spirit, had attempted to devour Kaisha City. It was thwarted by Meng Xinghai's Grand Marshal uncle, Cao Qianqiu, and others. Qinming became entangled in this karmic web. The torn cloth on his body had absorbed the centipede's divinity, drawing its lingering spirit to his door and luring him into its divine kingdom. There, Qinming obtained golden scales inscribed with an astonishingly profound true scripture. Without a doubt, this technique was not created by the centipede itself. The golden scales were composed of an extraordinarily rare material, resembling dragon scales or qilin scales. The divine wisdom I cultivate cannot be retained either. Heavenly light devours it within my flesh and blood. The Silk Book is too domineering. Yet Qinming refused to give up, continuing his practice relentlessly. During his arduous cultivation, as Qinming attempted to break through a major bottleneck, his Thunderbird companion dutifully patrolled the borders of Qingfeng town, constantly observing every rustle of wind and movement in the surrounding area. Whenever Qinming found his training becoming tedious, he would occasionally step out to personally patrol the borderlands. The demons lurking at the edge of the Divine Fall Plains now found themselves in a precarious position. The demonic beast alliance scorned them, viewing them as human-tamed dogs who had lost their wildness. Meanwhile, the human border communities regarded them as demons, constantly suspecting them of evil intentions. Clearly, most demons in the buffer zone were opportunists, siding with whichever faction held the upper hand. However, those who remained and hadn't fled now leaned noticeably toward the human side. Whenever Qinming personally patrolled the area, a great demon from the second realm would immediately appear to accompany him, adopting a deferential posture. They would sing, dance, and offer him wine. The Divine Fall Plains, a vast expanse of plains covered in dense forests, teemed with abundant resources. Though few fire springs were visible in the darkness, digging down just a few feet would reveal their crimson glow seeping through the earth. Standing atop a towering mountain, Qinming gazed out across the boundless forest plains. He hoped that the Great War would be delayed, granting him the time he needed to achieve a breakthrough in his cultivation. Alas, given the prevailing circumstances, any semblance of peace had long since vanished. Even the current tense atmosphere was unsustainable, both sides were poised to strike at any moment. The next day, several strange birds began to appear successively over the territory surrounding Qingfeng town. In an outrageous act of provocation, they approached the mountain where Qinming stood, circled briefly, and then dropped their droppings. This was a blatant insult, shattering the tranquility of Qinming's territory. The demons were clearly stirring up trouble. The Thunder King bird flapped its wings, scattering the foul matter, and prepared to pursue the birds. Qin Ming's eyes snapped open. There is no need. He swiftly drew his bow, nocked an arrow, and aimed at the night sky. One after another, 4 strange birds were blasted apart by iron arrows imbued with heavenly light. Feathers rained down, stained with blood, as the once formidable creatures let out piercing, agonized cries. Even their spiritual consciousness found no escape, being utterly incinerated by the heavenly light. That very day, 2 demons in the early Third Realm arrived at Qin Ming's door. One of them was a black peacock, a species far from being considered low-ranking among demons. "Hey kid, we're from Floating Ridge, the sacred land revered by all feathered tribes. Our master sent us to persuade you to surrender. A wise man knows when to yield, we hope you'll pledge allegiance." "Get lost if you don't want to die," Qin Ming replied, studying the peacock and wondering if its master was a rare demon clan member who had already awakened extraordinary blood within their veins. "By slaughtering the feathered tribes in Panxi town, you've insulted Floating Ridge. You're courting disaster, choosing the path to hell when salvation is offered." The 2 bird demons swooped in for the attack. After a moment's thought, Qin Ming refrained from a brutal slaughter. Instead, he parried their attacks, trading blows for over a dozen exchanges before severing their heads with a single strike each. His primary concern was avoiding the risk of alarming the remaining demons and provoking an old demon to intervene personally. By taking his time, he hoped to draw out the conflict as long as possible. Moreover, he was fishing for bigger game. If some hot-blooded strange-blooded creature rushed in to avenge their comrades, that would be perfect. Clearly, bird demons had been observing from afar, as one immediately fled to report the news. Over the next 2 days, Qin Ming found no peace, slaying 4 waves of invading demon clan forces. Each battle was a bloody, desperate struggle, fraught with danger. In the final 2 encounters, he had to join forces with the Thunderbird to barely defeat their opponents. After these successive waves, on the 4th day, a youth clad in black and white robes appeared, his hands clasped behind his back as he stood atop a celestial crane, radiating an otherworldly, ethereal aura. Qin Ming immediately sensed that this demon likely had significant backing. 4 demons accompanied the youth. Upon landing, they transformed into human forms, men and women, all deferring to him as their leader. "So you are the one who has been slaughtering my subordinates?" the youth asked, his voice cold as he gazed down at Qin Ming with detached disdain, as if looking at a corpse. Qin Ming activated his awakening eye, scrutinizing the youth closely. A flicker of surprise crossed his face. He might truly have stumbled upon a stroke of great luck. There was a 90% chance that his opponent was an exotic blood creature with a formidable background. "And what if I am?" Qin Ming retorted. "Then you shall die," the youth in the black and white robes declared in a chilling tone. Having lost over a dozen subordinates, he had come to demand retribution and intended to deliver it personally. "I'm just afraid you lack the ability to do so," Qin Ming scoffed. Overconfident, the youth ordered his subordinates, "Contain the Thunderbird. Don't let it escape. I'll personally execute this human race brat. If you can't beat them, run," Qin Ming told the Thunder King bird. The Thunder King bird knew its new master was utterly unscrupulous and likely planning another fake fight to lure out more prey. Without a word, it spread its wings and soared into the sky. The young demon was a black-white sparrow, blessed with exceptional talent and a bloodline containing traces of yin-yang power. His clan was one of the strongest on Floating Ridge. He strode forward, one hand casually behind his back, and declared, "Before a heavenly demon seed, a human genius like you is nothing but a joke. I'll crush you with a single hand." Qin Ming immediately recognized this was a major catch, a seed-level figure from the demon clan. He flashed a brilliant smile, revealing his pearly white teeth. "What seeds? What whelps? I've never heard of such things. All I know is you're just a bird, and you'd taste delicious if roasted." Instantly, a violent gale erupted, whipping up sand and stones. The black-white sparrow advanced, each step covering 20 meters, his single hand pressing down with overwhelming demonic power, making the air crackle. Qin Ming's expression turned serious as he engaged in a fierce battle. In truth, the black-white sparrow clan youth had used both hands the moment he closed the distance. His claim of crushing Qin Ming with one hand had been nothing more than empty rhetoric. As a heavenly demon seed, he sensed his opponent's extraordinary strength from the first clash. Abandoning all pretense of restraint, he unleashed his ultimate techniques from the start, unleashing his full power in a desperate attempt to kill Qin Ming. Between his hands, black and white light intertwined, sweeping forward relentlessly. His techniques were truly astonishing, the yin-yang power terrifyingly powerful. Whether it was vegetation, mountain rocks, or anything else caught in his path, the yin-yang power tore it apart. Even refined iron would instantly crumble into dust. Qin Ming nodded inwardly. Like himself, the opponent had reached perfection in the second realm, and such extraordinary techniques were indeed remarkable. Observing the familiar yin-yang power, Qin Ming refrained from using the black-white yin-yang diagram. Instead, he chose to meet the attack head-on with brute force. In an instant, a faint golden aura enveloped his body. The Vajra fist erupted into motion, generating gale force winds that whipped up shattered trees and pulverized boulders, sending them swirling around him. You deliberately concealed your strength when you killed my subordinates earlier. You're a seed from the human side. The black-white sparrow snarled, his expression darkening. Now that you know, you might as well leave your life behind. Qinming intensified the force behind his Vajra fist. The strikes thundered like lightning, unleashing sonic booms and terrifying golden radiance. The heavenly light force burned into the black-white sparrow's consciousness, inflicting excruciating pain. The black-white sparrow was stunned. How could someone in the same second realm be so terrifyingly powerful? You're quite impressive, Qinming remarked. You might be able to withstand 10 of my punches. You. The black-white sparrow was both shocked and enraged, feeling utterly underestimated. His expression shifted as he realized the opponent's confidence in claiming he could withstand 10 strikes seemed genuine. The force of their clashes sent his blood surging and threatened to ignite his divine wisdom. Yet he soon noticed the opponent appeared to be holding back. Before long, they had exchanged over 30 blows. Is he still putting on a show, trying to lure others into his trap? The black-white sparrow seethed, furious at being reduced to a mere pawn. Qinming and the black-white sparrow engaged in a fierce battle, their brute force clashing against the black-white light. The struggle appeared to be a life-or-death struggle, at least to those watching from afar. The young black-white sparrow wanted to shout out the truth. But during their exchanges, whenever his black-white light touched Qinming's fist, an even more powerful black-white light surged back, penetrating his defenses. Using this cover, Qinming unleashed the yin-yang heavenly light force. The youth from the black and white sparrow clan let out a muffled groan. He felt as though the divine intellect within his body had been ignited, the pain was unbearable, and he felt as if his entire being were about to burst into flames. I am destined to become a divine spirit. How can my divine wisdom be destroyed here? Terror gripped him, but he couldn't voice his panic. Forced to continue unleashing black-white light in defense, he inadvertently further concealed Qinming's yin-yang power. After exchanging over 100 blows, Qinming seized an opportunity and suddenly drew his jade iron sword, a weapon capable of both shattering divine intellect and parrying the black and white light, and used this treasure sword to deal a heavy blow to the youth. Subsequently, in a perfectly plausible move, Qinming beheaded the black and white sparrow youth. In the night sky, 4 avian demons witnessed the scene and fled in terror. The Thunder King bird, already fleeing for its life, swooped down to the mountain peak and killed the youth's celestial crane mount. Just as I suspected, extraordinary blood. Qinming grinned triumphantly. Then, with a thud, he collapsed backward onto the ground, feigning exhaustion and gasping for breath. Seeing this from afar, the remaining avian demons didn't dare return to attack. Instead, they immediately went to report. I hope the old demons aren't too protective of their young, Qinming mused. Otherwise, I'll have to call for reinforcements. He hoped to lure out more strange-blooded creatures of his own level. What? Is a human race seed there? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Upon receiving the urgent report, the heavenly demon seeds of Floating Ridge were immediately roused, and some launched their attacks without delay. Qinming, too, was eager to hunt down creatures possessing rare bloodlines, his eyes burned with intense fervor. But in the eyes of the demons, weren't the human race seeds themselves a great medicine? At the mountain peak, the black-white sparrow had already manifested its true form, a ferocious, black and white avian creature. Qinming swiftly retrieved the extraordinary blood and refined it on the spot. He immediately felt a surge of vital energy coursing through his body, subtly raising his limits and deepening his foundation. A thunderous roar echoed across the sky as a terrifying demon descended, bellowing. Human brat. You killed the heavenly demon seed of my black-white sparrow clan from Floating Ridge and dared to devour its ancestral blood. Your crimes are unforgivable. My dear brother, I have come to avenge you. A snow-white aberrant landed, transforming into a white-robed youth with a divine ring hovering behind his head. Though he spoke of revenge, his face betrayed unconcealed delight. What a magnificent human-shaped great medicine, he murmured. His unique ocular technique allowed him to sense the immense blood energy and vigorous life force within the human youth's body, a prospect that left him irresistibly tempted. A third realm heavenly demon seed, a fine demon, a fine medicine. Qinming exclaimed inwardly. He believed that by fighting to sustain himself and deepen his foundation, he might rapidly break through his current bottleneck. In truth, both the human and the demon were sizing each other up, each admiring the other's powerful, medicinal properties. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 322, Slaying the Jade Emperor's Brother Provokes an Unrivaled Enemy. 2 chapters combined. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. I admire you, the white-robed youth said, cutting straight to the point, his face wreathed in an unshakable smile. Qinming returned the smile. I think highly of you, too. You're a man of fine bearing and truly handsome. Since the youth had offered praise, Qinming naturally reciprocated with courtesy, a classic example of returning a peach with a plum. Both men were smiling, though neither was offering genuine compliments. After all, whether admiring an opponent or complimenting their appearance, they were both subtly implying that the medicinal properties of their target were particularly powerful, dressing up a crude act of herb harvesting in flowery language. The white-robed youth continued, human race seed, I'll tell you the truth, this war between our races will be unlike any before. Your eastern corner is destined to be shattered, its lands drenched in blood, and even your ancestral courts will be trampled by divine beings. He pressed on. This is the tide of the great era. No one can defy the irresistible force of this epic. You have no idea how formidable your opponents will be. I'll show you a path to salvation, follow me. He had changed his mind. He felt this particular, medicinal herb, had grown too splendidly, to consume, it now would be something of a waste. It would be far better to let it mature for a few more decades. Once it reached a higher cultivation realm, it would be of immense aid to him in breaking through bottlenecks and attaining enlightenment. As for the corpse of his virtuous younger brother, lying on the ground, he didn't even spare it a second glance. The white-robed youth, a demon with immense pride, intended to seize this opportunity to crush Knight Prefecture and accumulate more human form-grade medicine. Are you demons so confident that you can sweep away my Knight Prefecture? Qinming asked, not rushing to attack. He genuinely wanted to hear the demons' wise counsel, and see if he could glean any valuable information. The white-robed youth replied, when the gods descend, and the heavenly gate is shattered, who can stand against us? The eastern corner is destined to become the demon territory, its fate was sealed long ago. Qinming's heart sank. The demon clan seemed utterly confident. At what level did these so-called divine beings operate? Could they be in the mid or late 7th realm? If so, they would rival Earth immortals. Has an Earth god emerged among the demons? Qinming asked. The white-robed youth smiled faintly, ignoring the question. Instead, he spoke of ancient glory. In those primordial ages, Floating Ridge served as the sacred land of the feathered tribes, and a heavenly god once resided here. Pledging your allegiance to our side would be no disgrace to your status. Qinming had recently studied the major powers on the opposing side. The Floating Ridge was indeed extraordinary, once a remarkably powerful grotto heaven of the demon clan that hovered above the dark clouds. Though it had long since collapsed, only the final ridge remained suspended in the air. Undeterred, Qinming continued to probe for information. You seem so confident. I'm curious, how powerful is this divine being you've awakened? There's no taboo involved, so tell me. The white-robed youth smiled and shook his head, refusing to divulge any details. My name is Huang Fei. My clan holds considerable influence here at the Floating Ridge. If you align with us, you'll be protected. Knowing the young demon lord was tight-lipped, Qinming's demeanor turned cold. I'm intrigued. Where does your confidence come from? You act as if you've already got me cornered. Huang Fei gazed up at the night sky and replied calmly, my brother is the Jade Emperor. As his younger sibling, I won't tarnish his reputation. The Jade Emperor. What arrogance. Qinming scoffed. He knew without asking that his brother must be a renowned heavenly demon seed within the demon civilization. Indeed, the bird-like demons circling overhead in Huang Fei's entourage showed reverence at the mention of the Jade Emperor. Another eagle demon roared, show respect to the Jade Emperor. Qinming glanced at them. The Jade Emperor seems to be quite famous. I wonder how truly formidable he is. Huang Fei didn't need to say anything more. Other demons in the night sky spoke up. Once the Great War breaks out, you'll understand the weight of the name, Jade Emperor. It will crush the seeds on your eastern corner side, ensuring they fall one after another at his feet. Qinming retorted, watch your words. We are from the Knight Prefecture. Huang Fei sighed and said, it seems we cannot reach an accord. What a pity, I had originally intended to nurture you until you reached the 4th realm, or even the 5th. But you simply lack the sense to know what's good for you, insisting instead on rushing headlong toward your own demise. What a show-off. The Thunder King bird couldn't help but interject. Though the white-robed youth spoke calmly, his demeanor was truly arrogant. Huang Fei glanced at it. The Thunder King bird, even while still in the 3rd realm, you could outfly many exotic birds of the 4th. A fine mount. Soon you'll be ownerless. Follow me from now on. Qinming sneered, a toad yawning. Come, let me see just how extraordinary the Jade Emperor's younger brother is. I hope your extraordinary blood doesn't disappoint me. I still don't know your name, Huang Fei replied calmly, exuding an air of unhurried confidence, as if he had everything under control. He truly carried himself with an air of dignity. By now, Qinming no longer needed to use names like Li Yi or Zhou Wubing. Huang Fei nodded. Qinming. Vaguely familiar. You must have some minor renown, but not enough to be memorable. I can't recall who you are offhand. The demon civilization had naturally investigated the experts of Knight Prefecture, mostly focusing on founding ancestors and grandmasters. As for second realm immortal seeds, they were considered too insignificant. Even the most exceptional among them wouldn't catch the eye of the demon elite, as they couldn't influence the overall balance of power. As for the younger generation of the demon civilization, they had only cursorily investigated the human race's seeds in Night Prefecture, primarily focusing on third realm powerhouses. In their eyes, second realm seeds still lacked sufficient cultivation. Regardless of how immense their potential might be, that potential could not be immediately converted into tangible combat strength. Thus, on the battlefield of this current conflict, they were unlikely to amount to anything significant. Huang Fei paced slowly, then turned his back to Qin Ming and said calmly, "I've never been defeated in a frontal battle. Come on, I'll give you a chance." Qin Ming had never encountered such an arrogant opponent. To be so looked down upon for the first time in his life, to be given such a dismissive turn of his back, was beyond his experience. The Thunder King bird tilted its head and silently watched Huang Fei, saying nothing this time. "With your current arrogance, you've really overreached yourself. Don't tell me you think you're the Jade Emperor." Qin Ming sighed. Then, he swung a palm strike. The very audacity of someone turning their back on him was a revelation, teaching him that there's always someone more arrogant, someone who can outboast the boastful. In an instant, the mountain peak erupted in a tempest of wind and thunder. Sand and stones flew, golden radiance surged, and the ground split open. Qin Ming's first impulse was to smash him into a bloody pulp with that one palm strike. Yet, he quickly calmed himself. The fact that this opponent could stir his emotions proved he wasn't simple. Crack! At that moment, the white-robed youth moved. The mountain peak shattered, and the entire mountain body trembled violently. Huang Fei was indeed extraordinary. The moment he exerted force with his foot, his entire aura transformed, and the power of his kick was like a mountain collapsing and the earth splitting apart. His white robes billowed as he leaned forward, his right leg whipping back with lightning speed, accompanied by a terrifying sonic boom. Nearby millstone-sized boulders were tossed into the air like fallen leaves, rising high before exploding into fragments. The speed and power of this kick were truly terrifying, even startling the Thunder King bird. It felt that a single blow would cripple it instantly, its physical body might even explode on contact. Qin Ming was taken aback. This arrogant-looking opponent was genuinely formidable, not merely putting on a show. The sheer force of that kick far surpassed even Li Qingshu's most devastating staff strike. Of course, Huang Fei had already reached the third realm, his cultivation was naturally far superior. Qin Ming slightly adjusted the trajectory of his palm strike, avoiding the sole of Huang Fei's shoe and aiming for the tibia, a relatively vulnerable spot, hoping to shatter it outright. But in an instant, his expression changed. Huang Fei's leg transformed, swelling to become a truly massive limb, now covered in serrated edges. Sparks flew, and metal clanged as Qin Ming's palm struck Huang Fei's. Even his Vajra palm, radiating a brilliant glow, felt a stinging pain. He retreated with a graceful leap, lowering his head to examine his palm. Fortunately, his body was exceptionally resilient, rendering him impervious to swords and weapons. Not a single scratch marred his skin. Qin Ming's gaze turned peculiar as he studied his opponent. Now he understood why Huang Fei had kept his back turned. Part of it was a deliberate act, but the greater reason was to facilitate the use of his ultimate technique. This white-robed youth, this demon, was actually a mountain-toppling locust. All his skills, his most formidable abilities, were concentrated in those powerful, elongated legs. Huang Fei was a flying locust beast, its true form resembling a massive grasshopper with serrated spikes covering its legs. His earlier posturing, his back turned to Qin Ming, was all about gathering momentum. He had planned to unleash his trump card immediately, aiming to crush his opponent with a single, devastating kick. Qin Ming spoke, "You're a flying locust beast. Do the grasshopper clans even belong to the feathered tribes? And you have such influence on the floating ridge, how absurd." At the same time, he realized that the so-called Jade Emperor must have evolved from a jade locust. "We are not mere flying locusts. How dare you disrespect and blaspheme my locust beast clan?" Huang Fei's face darkened as he flexed his right leg, feeling it swell and ache, his qi and blood sluggish. He knew he had encountered an exceptionally formidable opponent. The fact that this human race youth could withstand his most powerful ultimate technique, the back kick, with bare hands was truly terrifying. Still, he had confidence in his own strength. In the next instant, neither spoke. The battle erupted. Huang Fei retracted his massive legs, said to be capable of kicking down mountains, and transformed back into a graceful young man. After several failed attacks, he soared into the air, his clothes tearing to reveal a pair of transparent wings. These were the flying locust beast wings, vibrating with a metallic clang that unleashed torrents of razor-sharp sword chi. They say human sword immortals have extraordinary offensive power, but our demon clan's demon sword immortals far surpass them. A falcon demon shouted from the night sky. The so-called demon sword immortals, spanning many clans, harness their innate racial abilities to unleash truly astonishing sword light. As Huang Fei hovered in the air, the transparent wings behind him vibrated, emitting not only terrifying sonic waves that disrupted the spiritual domain but also a dense, crisscrossing web of sword qi. Qinming muttered to himself, to possess such combat power at the early Third Realm is quite remarkable. It seems his brother, the Jade Emperor, is truly a formidable figure. He became particularly interested in this Jade Emperor, whom he had never met, and made a mental note to remember him. Qinming blocked Huang Fei's sword light and retaliated in kind. Activating the golden cicada scripture, he instantly unleashed a deafening cicada's cry that echoed like thunder through the night sky. Golden spiritual cicadas materialized as he formed seals, their paper-thin wings carrying sword light as they soared into the air. In an instant, golden cicadas filled the night sky, their thunderous cries intertwining with dazzling sword light. The combined forces crisscrossed the area, their energy surging and vibrating as they suppressed Huang Fei's sword light. Qinming secretly transmitted a message to the Thunder King bird, go find some messenger birds and inform the old geezers in the city that heavenly demon seeds have been falling one after another here. This will likely provoke retaliation from the old demons. He decided to stall for time, not planning to strike immediately. This was a remote area far from the founding ancestors' battlefield, a place that would normally draw no attention from major powers. Just as before, the demons crossing the border had been early Third Realm creatures like mantis beasts and black peacocks. After slaughtering several waves of the demon clan, Qinming finally drew the strange-blooded creature, the black-white sparrow. Now, Huang Fei, the second heavenly demon seed, had also arrived. For Qinming, this was like striking gold, it was equivalent to unearthing two extraordinary blood. However, it also meant that danger was closing in. If this heavenly demon seed were to disappear, it might eventually attract the attention of an old demon. Especially since Huang Fei had significant connections, he was the Jade Emperor's younger brother. His death would likely cause considerable trouble. Qinming began preparing, requesting reinforcements from the experts above, ready to face any crisis. As a high-grade exotic bird, the Thunder King bird had naturally recruited many followers in recent days. Soon, several of these birds flew off in different directions. Standing atop the mountain, Qinming continuously formed seals with his hands. The golden cicada's cry rang out, thunderous rumbles shook the air, and layers of sword light shimmered around him. The assembled demons were stunned. They felt that the techniques this human race cultivator was using didn't resemble those of an ordinary sword immortal, but rather the innate abilities of a demon sword immortal. Huang Fei's expression turned grim as he unleashed his full power, clashing swords with his opponent. This was a duel that belonged to the domain of demon sword immortals. He occasionally unleashed powerful kicks, each one sending a thunderous explosion that blasted a massive crater into the mountaintop and cracked the ground into a web of dark fissures. Qinming countered with effortless grace, shattering sword strikes with sword light and shattering the mountain-kicking leg techniques with his Vajra fist. Their battle raged fiercely, neither gaining an advantage. As time wore on, the two remained locked in a stalemate, having already exchanged nearly 200 moves. Huang Fei's demeanor shifted from confident assurance to a slight furrowing of his brow, and finally to one of grave solemnity. As a heavenly demon seed, far superior to ordinary demonic geniuses, his senses were exceptionally acute. He sensed that something was amiss. Had this human youth, who cultivated the demon sword immortal path, been holding back earlier? He had fought to a standstill with his junior brother, Black-White Sparrow, who should have been no match for him. Yet now, Qinming was matching him blow for blow. What the hell? Huang Fei acted decisively. Sensing danger, he didn't hesitate. With a swift motion, he shot skyward. As a flying locust beast, he could fly and burrow freely. His transparent locust wings vibrated furiously, propelling him toward the night mist. Huh. He recoiled in horror, feeling as though his legs had suddenly become stuck. He looked down and saw golden threads coiling around his ankles, threads from which he could not break free. At that moment, Qinming activated the golden silkworm scripture. Golden threads of heavenly light force erupted from every pore of his body. Several of these threads plunged into the darkness, ensnaring his opponent's legs, which he then yanked down with a sudden tug. How could he possibly allow this powerful, heavenly demon seed brimming with medicinal essence to escape? Huang Fei's expression changed. His premonition had come true, the damned human race youth hadn't gone all out earlier, his true cultivation was far greater than he'd let on. Qinming remained expressionless. He had sent a message in advance, expecting the old experts behind him to arrive faster than the demon clan. However, to be safe, he preferred to prolong the battle. After pulling Huang Fei to the ground, he resumed his offensive against the demon. After dozens of exchanges, Huang Fei's expression turned grim. This duel was too fake. Even as a participant, he couldn't stand watching it. His eyes turned cold as he continued to search for the perfect opportunity. Now he had it. After a fierce exchange, he suddenly flicked his sleeve, and a jade sword shot out, erupting in a hazy white light. Huang Fei grinned maliciously, abandoning his earlier gentle and refined demeanor. He waited for the sword light to cleave his opponent to death. Before Qin Ming, strands of golden heavenly light force formed a fine mesh, blocking the jade sword's white light. Yet the layered nets of golden silkworm force were being sliced through. Most critically, his hair stood on end as he sensed the sword light's extreme danger. It was utterly different from Huang Fei's previous attacks, far surpassing them. This isn't his sword intent. Qin Ming immediately understood. This was a sword intent left within the jade sword by someone else, which Huang Fei had refined for a long time, nurturing it into a terrifyingly powerful sword light. Qin Ming remained calm. He simply raised his right hand to grab the sword light. Others could not see it, but Huang Fei saw it clearly. Concealed behind Qin Ming's 5 fingers, a tiny yin-yang diagram spun in the center of his palm. When the peerless sword light struck Qin Ming's palm, it rang out with a resounding clang. The very void trembled and roared, and the surrounding mountains, rocks, grass, and trees exploded. Yet, the sword light failed to pierce the hand Qin Ming held before him, being ground to nothing by the yin-yang diagram in his palm. Huang Fei was stunned. This was a sword seed, left to him by his elder brother. After years of daily refinement and nourishment with demonic essence. Although it could not quite rival a full-force strike from the Jade Emperor sword itself. It was more than enough to kill opponents of the same level. For the past 2 years, he had been invincible with it. Relying on this very sword, he had slain adversaries of the utmost tenacity, regardless of their background or whether they possessed the most noble of demonic bloodlines. A single stroke of this sword had been enough to end them all. How could such a person exist? He blocked my brother's Jade Emperor sword seed. Disbelief turned to dread. This meant his chances of surviving the day were slim. Earlier, when he claimed to be undefeated among his peers, he wasn't boasting. With this sword seed, he truly could crush most opponents. No one outside knew about the sword light hidden within him, a sight that guaranteed death. You are indeed remarkable. You have forced me to unleash my true power, Qin Ming remarked, and this was no hollow flattery. Then, he sighed and added, one must be cautious when feigning weakness. If one does not go all out, one could easily lose. If one couldn't maintain absolute control, suppressing one's cultivation to fight an opponent would be no different from walking straight into one's own death. In battle, circumstances shift in the blink of an eye, and an opponent may resort to any desperate, life-or-death measure to survive. This human youth, Huang Fei realized he had completely miscalculated. He tried to send a telepathic message, but Qin Ming's golden silkworm force had sealed him. Strands of heavenly light force intertwined into a net, enveloping him and denying him any opportunity to speak. However, the few members of the demon clan hovering in the night sky possessed exceptional vision. They could all clearly see that Huang Fei had been forced onto the defensive. Send word quickly. One demon whispered. After all, this was the Jade Emperor's own brother, and they had to do everything in their power to save him. Immediately thereafter, several more demons swooped down from the sky. Qin Ming realized that he could no longer stall by fighting a seemingly evenly matched battle. PFF'd. His golden silkworm force pierced Huang Fei's body, impaling him on the mountaintop. Qin Ming looked down from above and sneered, is this the extent of your ability? For someone who puts on such airs, you really aren't all that impressive. Hiss. The few demons that had just swooped in were terrified. They tried to flap their wings and escape, but found themselves unable to gain altitude. Golden threads of silkworm force erupted, trapping them in place, while dazzling sword light crisscrossed the air. Despite their desperate struggle, all the demons were ultimately cut down, their bodies collapsing in death atop the mountain. In the night sky, a falcon demon sent to carry the message tried to flee, but even its speed couldn't match the Thunder King bird. It was caught and slain. Further out in the distance, other avian scouts, whose combat capabilities were relatively weak, serving solely as messengers, remained. With a draw of his bow, he shot them down one by one, each arrow finding its mark and obliterating its target. Who exactly are you? Huang Fei asked in utter despair, realizing that this time, he had truly picked a fight with the wrong person. As Qin Ming approached, he quickly pleaded, my brother is the Jade Emperor. Don't kill me, let me go, and I can save your life at a critical moment. Are you dreaming? As a great medicine, yourself, you possess absolutely no self-awareness, Qin Ming scoffed. He grabbed Huang Fei, slapped him a few times, then, with a flash of his sword, ended his life. Kill me, and you shall meet a wretched end yourself. Once the Jade Emperor sets his sights upon you, no one in this world will be able to save your life, Huang Fei's final words echoed. In an instant, his consciousness was reduced to ashes by the heavenly light. My lord, the message has been delivered. The people within the city say you need not worry, powerful experts will be arriving shortly, some of the messenger birds returned. Another strange bird added, the city's lord said that multiple experts are patrolling the nearby regions. If anything happens, reinforcements will be sent to support you. Let's just hope they don't falter at the critical moment, Qin Ming muttered, standing on the mountain peak and gazing at the pitch-black horizon. Soon, he extracted the extraordinary blood from the flying locust beast's transformed body and temporarily sealed it. He had just refined the black-white sparrow's extraordinary blood and hadn't fully absorbed it yet. Thump, thump, thump. A tremendous commotion erupted from the horizon, sounding as if some colossal beast were on the run. In this fringe region of the world, the terrain was relatively gentle, mountains were scarce, appearing only as sparse dots scattered across vast stretches of open plain, while as far as the eye could see, the landscape was blanketed in dense, lush forests. In the distance, great trees toppled over, wild beasts fled in panic, and flocks of birds took flight into the sky. Is some massive creature making its way here? It's not moving particularly fast. Yet it appears to be heading straight for my location. Qin Ming's expression shifted slightly. The old powerhouses behind him in the city had yet to make an appearance. Could it be that an ancient demon from the opposing side had arrived ahead of them? If a fourth realm expert were to appear, he would likely be no match for them. With an entire major realm separating them, no one could hope to achieve such a victory. He had endured a harrowing experience in the past. While still in the first realm, he had encountered an elderly woman from the Kui clan who was at the early stage of the third realm. The outcome was inevitable. The mere protective heavenly light in the naturally radiating spiritual domain she emitted had torn him apart, leaving him in pieces. If that old geezer proves unreliable, I'll have no choice but to temporarily steer clear of the confrontation and make a tactical retreat. Not long after, a towering figure, 6 meters tall and powerfully built, appeared in his vision. It wasn't as tall as the trees, but its strength was terrifying. With a single sweep of its arm, it shattered all obstacles in its path. A humanoid monster. The creature's form was humanoid, yet it exuded the primal aura of a savage beast. Its face was flat, with only holes for nostrils and no bridge, and its head was completely bald. Most critically, its entire body glowed with a silvery white light in the darkness. This closely resembles one of the giant beasts described in ancient texts, a humanoid silver war beast. Qin Ming's expression turned grave. In ancient times, giant beasts, accompanied by mountain-sized plants, had nearly wiped out the humans of Night Prefecture, bringing immense disaster and hardship. Later, with the help of certain aberrant allies and the continuous rise of human experts, they finally defeated the giant beasts. A silver war beast. I estimate it resides within the fourth realm. I likely stand no chance against it. Qin Ming felt a growing premonition that the situation was taking a turn for the worse. The creature began its ascent up the mountain. Its flat, featureless face was dominated by a pair of eyes that radiated an icy, chilling coldness. With every step it took, a thunderous boom reverberated through the air, as the very mountain rocks beneath its feet crumbled and shattered under its crushing weight. The monsters our ancestors faced still exist within the demon clan. They were never truly eradicated. Among the giant beast tribes, the humanoid silver war beast was considered a miniature species by size, yet its strength was formidable. The silver, in its name hinted at its potential. It would reach the fourth realm upon maturity. Reaching the mountain peak, the silver war beast immediately spotted Huang Fei's corpse. Its silver light flared, and it charged toward Qin Ming in a berserk fury. As expected, slaying the Jade Emperor's brother had escalated the situation beyond a simple resolution. It hadn't been long before a humanoid silver war beast appeared. Qin Ming leapt onto the back of the Thunder King bird, which soared into the air. Gripping his jade iron sword, man and bird became one, streaking across the low-altitude sky like a bolt of lightning. How could he know if he was outmatched without trying? He refused to retreat without even attempting a single strike. Clang! Using his incredible speed, Qin Ming dodged the silver war beast's terrifying palm strike. As he did so, he managed to land a blow that left a trail of blood, a wound, upon the beast's shoulder. However, instead of rejoicing, Qin Ming felt a surge of apprehension. The creature's defensive capabilities were simply astonishing. Its physical body was incredibly tough. Though the jade iron sword had cut through its flesh, a mysterious beast essence blocked its path, preventing the sword from cleaving through the shoulder. Moreover, silver light erupted from the wound, and the beast's injury began to heal rapidly. This monster didn't wield the heavenly light force or understand the use of consciousness spiritual light. It relied solely on its beast essence and formidable physique to crush all opponents. Qin Ming circled the beast, slashing repeatedly. 3 strikes landed, but their effect was minimal. The deepest wound barely reached the bone, failing to inflict any critical damage. Roar! The humanoid silver war beast suddenly roared at the night sky, its beast essence boiling and silver light flaring like flames. The Thunder King bird nearly plummeted from the sky. His vital energy surged violently. Having been in such proximity, he had narrowly escaped suffering a critical blow. Qin Ming's expression darkened. This giant beast was indeed terrifying and difficult to handle. The Thunder King bird, terrified, flew high into the sky, no longer daring to dive. The humanoid silver war beast stomped the ground to dust, then buried Huang Fei's corpse underground. It roared at Qin Ming, its eyes icy, and then turned and strode down the mountain. Qin Ming frowned. Was it just retreating like this? Moments later, however, he realized something was amiss. The humanoid silver war beast was actually heading in the direction of Qingfeng town. Those old geezers issued orders to take a hard-line stance against any demons or monsters crossing the border, yet when the critical moment arrives, have they vanished into thin air? Why haven't they shown up yet? Qin Ming grew anxious. If such a war beast reached Qingfeng town, the entire population would be annihilated. He scanned the horizon and let out a long, desperate howl, but no reinforcements answered. Qin Ming's brow furrowed. Thinking of the townspeople's grimy faces, he gritted his teeth and urged the Thunder King bird forward. Then, with a sudden swoosh, he dropped from midair to land directly in the path of the humanoid silver war beast, blocking its only route forward. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 323, The Most Arduous Battle, 2 chapters combined. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. In the night sky, dark clouds churned and billowed, pressing down so low they seemed almost to touch the earth. It was about to rain, a phenomenon that cast an exceptionally oppressive atmosphere over the vast, pitch-black plains, which were otherwise blanketed in dense, lush forests. Qin Ming stood on the muddy road, flanked by towering trees. He gazed toward the forest's edge, where a colossal, silver-white figure had emerged. An autumn wind swept through the trees lining the road, sending countless yellow leaves spiraling down in a rustling, chilling cascade. Qin Ming sighed. Rationally speaking, he should retreat immediately. Against a fourth realm giant beast, he stood no chance. Yet, he could not bring himself to do so, he simply could not overcome the moral hurdle within his heart. If he were to retreat, not a single soul in this town would survive. Houses would be destroyed, corpses of men, women, and children would litter the streets, and blood would stain the ground, horrific scenes he could vividly imagine. Ahead, the ground trembled. With each step, the humanoid silver war beast cracked the earth beneath its feet. Like a gleaming, heavy metal automaton, it radiated raw power and mercilessness. It had clearly spotted Qin Ming. Its icy eyes narrowed, and a chilling, bloodthirsty grin stretched across its face. Within its cavernous maw, razor-sharp teeth gleamed, and plumes of white mist billowed from its nostrils, creating a truly terrifying spectacle. Perhaps. You should retreat, the Thunder King bird said. You can't stop it. It knew all too well how terrifying that monster was, its mere roar had nearly shaken the bird from the sky. Stay up there in the air and keep your distance, Qin Ming replied. Come what may, he was resolved to fight, even if only to stall for time. Perhaps, just perhaps, one of the old masters might arrive in time to help. Crack. A crackle of lightning arced across the abyss-like sky, and a drizzle began to fall in the late autumn air. Qin Ming stood his ground, the jade iron blade in hand, his eyes deep and resolute, ready to intercept the fourth realm giant beast. Be careful. Don't push yourself beyond your limits, the Thunder King bird warned, filled with apprehension, fearing that it might soon be left with the grim task of retrieving his corpse. In the past, it had served as Qin Ming's mount only because it was compelled by the status and authority of Yao Ruoxian, the fourth princess of the Great Yu dynasty. However, after spending some time in his company, it had since become a willing follower. The silver war beast arrived, its 6-meter-tall humanoid frame massive and imposing. The breath it exhaled was scorching hot, like white flames, a testament to its overwhelmingly powerful beast essence. Capable of understanding human speech, it opened its mouth and spoke. A long time ago, you little runts were nothing more than crops growing in the fields. Yet, as the years have passed, you have somehow managed to grow into a force to be reckoned with. In ancient times, some giant beasts were notoriously bloodthirsty and cruel, making that era a nightmarish memory for the various tribes of Night Prefecture. Qin Ming didn't mind exchanging a few more words with the creature while waiting for the senior to arrive as reinforcements. As you said it yourself, that was a long time ago. But where are you now? Just accept the fact that history has left you behind. You're mistaken, the silver war beast retorted, its breath carrying the sound of thunder and wind, and a scorching heat radiating from its blood-red jaws as they snapped open and shut. The giant beasts merely retreated, we did not vanish. Far away, across the vast lands, there exist even mightier clans, they simply deem this remote backwater beneath their notice for the time being. The distant world is far more glorious, with boundless mountains and rivers of breathtaking beauty. It continued, when the divine being of the giant beast clan casts its gaze upon this place again, you will be utterly annihilated. Qin Ming flicked his jade iron sword. Still spouting such nonsense. Looking back, in the final stages, you were all beaten like dogs, fleeing into the depths of the night mist. You speak as if you were the victors. The humanoid giant beast took a step forward, shattering the ground beneath its foot. Silver light erupted from its entire body as it swung its massive, winnowing basket-sized palm at Qin Ming. For creatures such as these, savagery and bloodlust were their true, inherent nature. Hold on, don't be in such a rush. Let's chat a little longer, Qinming said, retreating swiftly to evade the attack. I promise I won't bring up your ancestors' embarrassing moments anymore. Instead, I'll heap praise on how formidable they once were. How does that sound? He had already gauged his opponent. Even wielding the jade iron sword with all his might, he could only pierce the beast's flesh, unable to reach the bone. A direct confrontation now would be suicidal, offering no chance of victory. His strategy was to provoke the beast, hoping to shatter its composure and force it into a drawn-out battle. The silver giant beast's sole weakness was its lack of speed, disproportionate to its cultivation realm. Yet against opponents of lower cultivation, it could still keep pace effortlessly. Boom. With a thunderous crash, the forest exploded as the humanoid war beast charged forward, shattering century-old trees. Its massive, boat-like feet stomped directly toward Qinming. Qinming took a deep breath, raising the jade iron sword. In an instant, five-colored sword light erupted like a divine rainbow, illuminating the entire forest. As frigid energy surged, countless yellow leaves fluttered down, only to explode into fragments. To contend with a fourth realm war beast, he had to unleash his ultimate trump cards with every single strike. The silver giant beast's pupils blazed with silver light. Although savage by nature, it was not entirely mindless in its aggression. Its massive foot shifted abruptly to the side, avoiding a direct collision with the sword's edge. In a split second, Qinming shifted the trajectory of his jade iron sword. Locking onto one of the beast's toes, he knew he was no match for its raw power and couldn't inflict a fatal wound. But he aimed to inflict enough pain to enrage it, forcing it to chase him away from Qingfeng town. In the forest, ancient trees exploded as the giant beast and Qinming moved. The colossal creature's massive body shattered trees in its path, while heavenly light disintegrated others. With a thud, the silver war beast's foot was struck by the sword. This time, it let out a deep, guttural roar, its face contorting in a ferocious grimace. Blood splattered from its foot, staining the forest floor crimson. Its silver-white flesh peeled back, revealing the bone beneath, which had been injured. The sword had pierced through and lodged in the bone's crevice. The beast's little toe was nearly as thick as an adult human's leg, with thin skin and a thick bone. This time, the sword had finally struck bone and sinew. Ah! The pain of the severed toe was almost unbearable for the silver war beast. Beast essence surged through its body, rapidly repairing the wound while attempting to trap the jade iron sword. It bent down, unleashing a thunderous punch. Beast essence surged like heavenly thunder, accompanied by a roaring, white mist-like aura. Qinming had no choice but to withdraw his sword, then darted sideways through the night mist like a ghost, evading the full force of the attack. He was shocked. The silver war beast's defenses were terrifying. Despite using all his strength, he couldn't even sever its little toe. His only consolation was that the giant beast's beast essence couldn't be projected far. It relied primarily on its physical strength for attacks. However, the giant beast clan's defensive capabilities and regenerative abilities far surpassed those of other races. Within moments, its wounds had stopped bleeding and begun to heal. Enraged, the silver war beast surged forward with a massive burst of speed, pulling the bone club from its back. The club, gleaming with a pearly white luster, was 4 meters long and incredibly heavy. Qinming's expression darkened. A giant beast wielding a weapon had become exponentially more dangerous. In an instant, the giant beast pursued him through the forest with speed matching his own, swinging the bone club relentlessly. Trees as thick as several men could encircle shattered instantly upon being grazed by the club, as if struck by a meteor, a display of terrifying power. Forced to parry several times with his jade iron sword, Qinming was sent flying backward each time. His sword arm trembled, the soft flesh between his fingers tearing open and bleeding profusely. The colossal force crashed down like a mountain collapsing into the sea, a violent, unstoppable torrent. Qinming's pupils contracted, his heart pounding. He had only just begun mastering the physical body chapter, yet he was already this badly injured. If this had happened before, his fingers and forearm would likely have been shattered, the flesh torn from his bones. The silver war beast was bloodthirsty. Seeing its opponent's crimson blood staining its sword, it grinned savagely and roared, "Lowly meat crops, come again." It surged forward with renewed speed, becoming a silver wall of destruction. Even the dense forest couldn't stop it. Its bone club crashed down like a falling mountain, obliterating everything in its path. In the past, Qinming had often overwhelmed his opponents with sheer brute force. Today, however, the tables have turned. Facing a fourth realm giant beast, he could only avoid its direct attacks, using his weakness against its strength. Around him, the energies of earth, fire, wind, and water surged. In an instant, he unleashed multiple forms of heavenly light force. The ground glowed red with earthly fire, while steam billowed upward as thunder roared and brilliant thunderlight crackled in the air. He hadn't combined these diverse heavenly light forces for a long time, primarily because, until recently, there had been absolutely no need. He had been able to sweep aside countless young opponents with ease. Now, however, he returned to his old ways, using heavenly thunder to ignite earthly fire, unleashing a devastating strike against the Silver War Beast. After Qinming fused multiple powerful heavenly light forces, heavenly thunder in the sky connected with earthly fire on the ground, unleashing immense power. The silver giant beast roared repeatedly as scorched marks appeared on its body, with some areas bleeding from the strikes. Yet it endured. The so-called heavenly thunder igniting earthly fire only inflicted superficial wounds. Even the two most terrifying thunderlight strikes merely pierced its flesh, barely touching its bones before being dissolved by its formidable beast essence. Though the Silver War Beast had a ferocious temper, its combat instincts were remarkably sharp. With a roar, it accelerated, never pausing as it charged through the earthly fire and thunderlight, leaving behind afterimages as it swung its bone club at its opponent. Even though Qinming was riding the wind, briefly taking to the air, he couldn't outpace the giant. Their speeds remained roughly equal. Bang! Bang! Qinming felt as if he had been struck by a mountain. The jade iron sword in his hand vibrated violently, and only his adhesive force prevented it from flying out of his grip. He was repeatedly hurled backward by the brute force, whether he blocked with the jade iron sword or shielded himself with a heavenly light barrier. None of his defenses could completely withstand the onslaught. He coughed up a mouthful of blood, his entire body felt like it was about to shatter. The Silver War Beast's terrifying beast essence had nearly completely dispersed his heavenly light force. Boom! Qinming was struck by the Silver War Beast's bone club, sending him crashing into a lake within the forest. The impact created a massive wave over 20 meters high, a testament to the terrifying speed at which he had been hurled. The Silver War Beast plunged into the azure lake and unleashed a devastating punch. The water surged violently as its beast essence boiled, obliterating a large section of the lake and exposing the bottom. Driven by primal fury, the beast raised its bone club again, desperate to crush its opponent into a bloody pulp with a single blow. Qinming activated the River Meridian scripture, his form flickering in and out of sight beneath the water. He moved as effortlessly as a fish, but his opponent's overwhelming power, amplified by its higher cultivation realm, threatened to shatter the entire area. His eyes gleamed with dark intensity as he closed in on the giant beast, sword in hand. As he engaged in fluid, evasive combat, a pair of 5-colored sword wings manifested on either side of his body. These allowed him to take flight for brief moments, circling the silver battle beast as he launched a flurry of lightning-fast attacks. This technique, learned from Grandmaster Jin Yuan of the Five Elements Palace, manifested as dazzling 5-colored sword wings. Against any other opponent, these swords would have already torn them to shreds. The 5 Elements sword wings could easily cleave through refined iron, yet they only left shallow wounds on the silver giant beast, proving insufficient to kill it. The humanoid war beast's eyes blazed with fury. Though the injuries it sustained weren't fatal, it was humiliating for a Fourth Realm expert to be at such a disadvantage, unable to claim the meat crops it coveted. Suddenly, a surge of 5-colored radiance erupted before Qinming, materializing into a miniature mountain. This time, having successfully dodged the bone club, he directed the attack straight toward the beast's massive, flat face. The Silver War Beast scrambled to dodge, narrowly avoiding the headshot, but its shoulder took the full force of the 5 Elements Mountain's attack. Flesh tore open, and blood gushed forth. Staggering, the beast struggled to maintain its footing in the forest, forced to brace itself with its bone club. It was at this very moment that Qinming streaked across the sky. First came the sword wings, followed by the jade iron sword, and finally, his body erupted in a blinding 5-colored divine radiance. The surging energy surged forward in an unstoppable torrent. In an instant, the vermilion bird sacred demonic essence, azure dragon sacred demonic essence, white tiger sacred demonic essence fused together, merging with the sword's light. The 5-colored divine radiance illuminated the night sky as the combined force, unleashed at point-blank range, crashed into the beast's head. The Silver War Beast violently shook its head and retreated, but even in the blinding 5-colored radiance, large patches of flesh were torn from its face. Its facial bones were also damaged, its mouth and nostrils gushing blood, and several of its sharp teeth were snapped. Most critically, the 5-colored sacred demonic essence had repeatedly struck its head, shattering its scalp and cracking its skull. Die! Qinming roared, his hands weaving black-white light into a yin-yang diagram that he slammed down directly onto the crown of the giant's head. He had been waiting for this opportunity, holding back his trump card until he could strike a decisive blow against the giant beast's life. Crack! The giant's skull fractured like a spiderweb, countless cracks spreading across its surface as bloody fragments splintered and flew into the air. Kill! Qinming merged with his sword, channeling the heavenly light force with the brilliance of blazing sun, pushing it to its limits to seize this chance to slay the Silver War Beast. However, as the silver giant roared in fury, the very winds and clouds around it churned violently, lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and the beast essence coursing through its entire body suddenly burst into flames. Boiling silver light. Qin Ming's heart sank as he recalled the legends. All silver war beasts possessed this ability, a complete unleashing of their beast essence, causing their life force to surge and their combat power to skyrocket. As expected, his sword strike never landed. The boiling silver light swept over him, sending him flying backward. Had it not been for the protective yin-yang diagram and the five-colored sacred demonic essence swirling around him at high speed, Qin Ming would likely have been completely disintegrated, forced to endure the agony of his physical body shattering once more. A profound sense of powerlessness washed over him. Crossing a great realm to challenge an opponent was truly insurmountable. The chasm between them was simply too vast, a gap that no extraordinary technique or secret technique could hope to bridge. Even with trump cards like the sacred demonic essence at his disposal, slaying such a colossal beast remained an incredibly difficult feat. In truth, without these trump cards, he wouldn't have even gotten close to the silver war beast before being blasted into oblivion. For a second realm cultivator to even wound this battle beast was already defying the heavens. By conventional logic, a humanoid giant beast at this level could crush such opponents with a single swing of its bone club. Whether immortal seeds, divine seeds, or heavenly demon seeds, any cultivator in the second realm who dared to appear before such a creature was tantamount to walking straight into the jaws of death. Within the seething silver light, the silver war beast's wounds writhed and rapidly closed. The shattered fragments of its skull returned to their places, enveloped by the radiant silver glow. Sacred transformation. Qin Ming's mind reeled. The legends were true after all. Any silver giant beast possessed extraordinary bloodlines, and when its silver light boiled, it could undergo a preliminary sacred transformation. Its skull had closed. Moreover, the silver war beast, now in its preliminary sacred transformation, charged forward with far greater speed than before. Its crimson eyes burned with fury. This human had nearly killed it. In an instant, it relentlessly pursued Qin Ming, smashing down its bone club, now imbued with sacred silver light. Its combat power had been amplified, surpassing its earlier strength. Qin Ming found himself trapped in an extremely perilous predicament, unable to escape the silver battle beast's attack range. The creature had gone berserk, seemingly intent on smashing him into oblivion with a single blow of its club. The entire forest had been devastated. Yellowed leaves scattered and exploded under the relentless attack. In the drizzling rain, flames seemed to engulf the silver giant beast's body. It moved with lightning speed and the ferocity of a collapsing mountain, roaring as its bone club crashed down again and again. Qin Ming coughed up mouthfuls of blood. Despite having mastered the physical body chapter, he couldn't withstand the repeated onslaught. He was tossed about like a flimsy boat in a raging sea, repeatedly hurled backward by the bone club's impact. He knew his hand bones were already shattered, his arm fractured in multiple places, and many other bones in his body were cracked. At this point, he could barely grip the jade iron sword, relying solely on adhesive force to keep it raised. After the silver war beast's sacred transformation, even its beast essence had become denser, and its range had expanded. Qin Ming was repeatedly pummeled by the bone club, making it nearly impossible to hold his sword. The relentless onslaught of powerful beast essence had left his body in critical condition, progressing from initial bone cracks to severe fractures throughout his body. Even his internal organs were bleeding. Where are those old geezers? He thought anxiously, his anger rising. He had fought to his limit, and if this continued, he would lose everything. With another thunderous impact, he was sent flying again, losing his grip on the jade iron sword. Only the golden silkworm force's silken threads kept it from falling. Using the force of the massive blow, Qin Ming unleashed wind control force, briefly propelling himself into the night sky. The Thunder King bird, which had been circling anxiously overhead, demonstrated perfect coordination at this critical moment. It swooped down, whisked him away, and fled the Death Mountain forest. Had they delayed any longer, even for just 3 breaths, Qin Ming would have been beaten to a bloody pulp by the silver war beast right there in the woods. Qin Ming lay motionless on the Thunder King bird's back, blood trickling from his mouth, nose, and even ears. At least 20 bones in his body were broken. As for his shattered finger bones, they were all counted as a single injury. He wanted to curse aloud, convinced that those above him were utterly unreliable. Was someone trying to harm him? Yet, given the circumstances, he found it hard to believe anyone would dare such blatant treachery. He believed the founding ancestors possessed a grand vision, and any subordinates who acted recklessly would bring ruin upon their entire clan. Roar. On the ground, the silver war beast roared skyward, furious that its meat harvest had escaped at the critical moment, still alive. It and some of its kin had been hired by the demonic civilization. Now, the employer's child was dead, while the beast itself was wounded, having narrowly escaped death. The more it dwelt on this, the more its fury intensified. With a thunderous crash, it charged toward Qingfeng town like a silver lightning bolt, covering hundreds of meters in the blink of an eye. Qinming endured the searing pain and forced himself to sit up. He swiftly retrieved a small crystal vial from his torn cloth space, filled with a shimmering purple liquid that radiated a soft glow. He uncorked the bottle and poured the entire contents into his mouth. This was the spoils he had seized from Helian Zhaoyu's spatial pendant after slapping him across the face in the Sun Elf clan's mountain city. Yu Zhensheng had identified the purple elixir as a life-saving treasure for those in the third realm, worth more than its weight in gold. As long as the drinker still drew breath, it could prolong life and rapidly heal injuries. Sure enough, where Qinming's hand had been reduced to exposed bone, flesh began to glow, bones crackled, and the wound healed at an astonishing rate. The rest of his body was soon enveloped in the same violet light. Let's go fight again. Qinming commanded his mount. The Thunder King bird was stunned, then vehemently protested, again. You're no match for it. Every creature that reaches the fourth realm possesses extraordinary talent, making it nearly impossible to defeat them across realms. Don't throw your life away. Qinming's voice was low and resolute. I've recovered enough to fight again. I just need to buy more time. The Thunder King bird, accustomed to Qinming's ruthless slaughter of enemies, never expected to see this softer side of him. Anyone else would have retreated long ago. Move. Qinming urged. All right. The Thunder King bird plunged into the night sky. In such a short time, the silver war beast had already charged 6 or 7 li, closing to within 10 li of Qingfeng town. Its deep, resonant roars pierced the air, reverberating across the town. Hearing those sounds echoing from the dense forest, the hearts of many townspeople were instantly seized by overwhelming terror. Some children's faces turned deathly pale, and they began to cry. Qinming leapt from the bird's back, landing on the ground with his sword held horizontally, once again blocking the silver war beast's path. Human, you've earned my respect, the silver war beast boomed. Knowing certain death awaits, yet daring to stand before me. I almost admire your courage. Of course, its hatred burned even stronger, and it yearned to crush this opponent. Its primary fear was Qinming's escape. Thus, it mimicked the tactics of demons and humans, offering praise and flattery to stoke his pride, hoping to ignite his bloodlust and force him into a desperate, final battle. Qinming remained silent, merely stretching his limbs. His bones had nearly healed, he was ready to fight. His gaze was unwavering, his focus locked solely on his opponent, his mind honed to a razor's edge. As for attempting a breakthrough in the heat of battle, he dismissed the thought entirely. Even with perfect timing, location, and support, such a transformation would require at least half a day of sustained effort. Against this formidable foe, it would be utterly useless. Fortunately, the battle beast's sacred transformation was fading. It couldn't maintain it for long. The surging silver light dimmed, retreating deep within its body and settling into dormancy. The humanoid giant beast's gaze remained unchanged. It could undergo sacred transformation multiple times in a single day. As long as this human didn't flee, it would inevitably kill him. Moreover, this time it would keep a close watch on that bird, ensuring it had no chance to intervene. The ensuing battle proved exceptionally arduous for Qinming. The silver war beast had already grasped his every technique, and now, firmly rooted in the fourth realm, it countered his attacks with far greater ease than during their initial clash. In a mere instant, Qinming was already drenched in his own blood. Each strike he unleashed was a trump card. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned the dragon serpent scissors, a fundamental technique from the dragon serpent scripture. A hand seal conjured the golden cicada thunderous sword, a secret technique from the golden cicada scripture. After a brief moment of preparation, he unleashed the 5-colored divine light in a devastating explosion. Throughout the battle, he repeatedly deployed the yin-yang diagram. Though it tore through the silver giant beast's flesh and even shattered several of its bones, he couldn't deliver a decisive blow. Instead, Qinming repeatedly found himself on the brink of death, already grievously wounded. The fourth realm is insurmountable. The silver war beast sneered inwardly, preparing to unleash its full power and crush its opponent. Rain poured down in torrents, thunder roared, and lightning flashed. Qinming repeatedly summoned spears, great swords, and other weapons from his torn cloth space, channeling heavenly light weapon control to thrust them into the night sky, hoping to attract lightning, but all attempts failed. Alas, relying on external forces or waiting for reinforcements is futile. He lamented, utterly exhausted. He carefully assessed his situation, channeling the profound fusion of all his techniques into the primordial unification state. Could he fully unleash the heavenly light force to slay the giant beast? The result left him deeply disappointed, giving rise to a profound sense of powerlessness. After a thorough analysis, he concluded that even by unifying all his techniques under the Silk Book's influence, he could only severely wound the silver war beast, not kill it. Ultimately, he himself would perish. Qinming chose not to unleash his ultimate strike. He repeatedly cycled through the various techniques he had previously demonstrated, gradually eliciting a cold sneer from the silver giant beast. While these techniques could injure it, they couldn't kill it. In the blink of an eye, Qinming sustained grievous wounds. He barely managed to escape, summoning his 5-colored sword wings to soar upward. Many bones in his body were fractured, his injuries even more severe than before. The Thunder King bird did its best to assist, coordinating their efforts, but in the final moments, they were still struck by a devastating blow. The silver war beast rose from the ground, its silver light surging, undergoing another sacred transformation. The beast essence it unleashed expanded outward with overwhelming force, staining the Thunder King bird's feathers with blood. One of its wings was nearly torn off. The Thunder King bird cried out in anguish, wobbling as it carried Qinming higher into the sky. "Drink this," Qinming said, producing a portion of auspicious beast blood. "Am I going to die?" The Thunder King bird trembled. "What are you thinking? It's not fatal. It's just to heal your wounds," Qinming replied weakly. He retrieved another bottle of Helian Jiaoyu's life-saving medicine and forced it down the bird's throat. Then, he looked down at the ground and said, "Since that's the case, we have no choice but to try the last method. A desperate gamble. You're going back down there." The Thunder King bird was dumbfounded. How was this any different from walking straight into its own death? The fourth realm battle beast was already enraged. This time, it would undoubtedly do everything in its power to trap him, leaving him no chance to escape. By now, the silver war beast had already charged 4 miles, leaving it less than 6 miles from Qingfeng town. The Thunder King bird, carrying Qinming, circled around and quietly approached the town. They could already hear the terrified prayers and weeping of the people. Some elderly residents urged the younger ones to flee immediately, telling them not to worry about the old. Qinming sighed. He saw the tear-streaked, dirt-stained faces of the children, trembling slightly, and felt a pang of pity. His voice low, he said, "Let's try one more thing. This time, I need you to help me." "Huh. All right." The Thunder King bird was initially surprised, but then adopted a determined, all-or-nothing attitude. "Land on the ground," Qinming instructed. "Use every method you have to extract my heavenly light." In the forest, the Thunder King bird's feathers bristled as it continuously drew out the heavenly light from Qinming's flesh and blood. Qinming himself exerted every ounce of his will to release the heavenly light from his body. Finally, a blindingly brilliant radiance, like a miniature sun, broke free from its physical constraints. He turned to the Thunder King bird and said, "All right. Now, get some distance between yourself and this place." By now, the rain was falling in torrents, the sky was pitch black, and the dark clouds seemed to press down on the ground. Qinming retained a portion of his consciousness within his physical body, stretching his limbs to ensure he remained capable of engaging in a brief battle. His primary consciousness, meanwhile, had merged with the intense heavenly light, transforming into a small humanoid figure wielding the exotic metal sword that had hung around his neck. He draped himself in torn cloth, completely concealing his radiant form, extinguishing the sun-like beams of light. Silently, Qinming ascended into the night sky, gazing down at the scene below. His physical body charged forward, standing on the ground, letting the torrential rain soak him. Strands of his dark hair plastered against his face. Now is the time to slay a fourth realm creature. Qinming's voice was low but resonant. He had already spotted the silver war beast charging toward him. This time, you have nowhere to run. You haven't a shred of a chance left, you are dead meat. The silver war beast's murderous aura boiled as it brandished its bone club and charged forward. The silver light radiating from its body evaporated the torrential rain above, its savage presence looming less than 2 miles from Qingfeng town. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 324, Time Waits for No One, 2 chapters combined. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. In the depths of autumn, a chill had already begun to settle. Dark clouds pressed down, heavy raindrops pounded the dense forest, knocking yellowed leaves from their branches. The humanoid war beast glowed in the night, its 6-meter-tall frame radiating raw power. Its bulging muscles rippling like coiled dragons, and as it advanced through the torrential rain, an oppressive aura filled the air. Each thunderous step shook the ground, sending mud and water flying. Its breath exploded through the rain, creating vast plumes of white mist. Qinming stood drenched in the downpour, his body burning hot. A surge of heat coursed through his limbs and bones, the effects of a powerful medicinal concoction. This was another treasure from Helian Jiaoyu's collection, a jar of azure ointment that could unleash one's latent combat potential. However, Qinming frowned, his physical strength had not undergone a qualitative transformation. He had taken a much larger dose today than during his previous trial, but the results were identical. Deep within his consciousness, however, Qinming felt a different sensation, his spiritual power had surged significantly. Helian Jiaoyu walks the immortal path, so his precious medicines focus on the spiritual domain. Qinming retrieved the jade jar from his torn cloth space and absorbed another portion of the azure ointment. It dissolved into a rain of light, merging with the sun-like radiance within him. At that moment, Qin Ming's consciousness, spiritual light, divine wisdom, and heavenly light merged into a single entity. Were it not for the torn cloth concealing him, he would have resembled a dazzling golden crow suspended in the sky. Suppress your aura, he thought. Even with the torn cloth providing cover, he focused on dimming his heavenly light, striving to blend seamlessly into the rainy night, leaving no trace of his presence. The azure ointment treasure medicine once again amplified his power, but further doses would now be ineffective. The torrential rain pounded the ground, sending up plumes of mist. The silver giant beast stood in the downpour, hefting its bone club. You're going to die, it growled. Though its killing intent surged, the beast remained cautious. It reasoned that Qin Ming's audacity in returning to fight must stem from some hidden advantage, and it had no desire to be caught off guard. Silver flames erupted around the beast's body as it initiated a sacred transformation, completely enveloping its form. Qin Ming observed calmly, his apprehension turning to elation. The silver light lacked the intensity of their first encounter and seemed to be fading even faster this time. With unwavering composure, he repeated the beast's words, "You are going to die." The silver war beast sneered. "Trying to unsettle me? Don't waste your breath." The silver flames exploded from its body with a thunderous roar as it swung its bone club down. Refusing to squander its limited sacred transformation time, it aimed to crush the human youth completely. Qin Ming dodged, relying solely on his physical prowess to engage in a skirmish was a perilous endeavor, a dangerous strategy aimed at exhausting the silver war beast's sacred transformation time. As he harnessed the wind to retreat swiftly, he called out, "An old expert will be arriving shortly. You, great beast, will not escape death." To his surprise, the silver war beast let out a relieved breath. It had seemed wary earlier, but now it grinned, its flat, brutal face splitting into a savage smile. "You won't live long enough to see any reinforcements." Qin Ming's heart sank. The pitch-black, rain-soaked night seemed to pulse with boundless malice. Thunder and lightning flashed across the dark clouds, momentarily illuminating the inky sky and revealing the humanoid giant beast's flat, brutal face. Grinning savagely, it swung its bone club with terrifying speed, closing in relentlessly. With a thunderous crash, trees shattered, and muddy water erupted in all directions. The mountain forest vanished as if swallowed by a mudslide, disappearing in mere moments. The silver war beast was truly terrifying. Wherever its bone club struck, nothing could stand in its way, anything it touched would inevitably explode. This time, Qin Ming felt like he was walking a tightrope, engaging in a high-stakes skirmish on the very edge of his limits. He avoided direct contact whenever possible, but the distance was shrinking rapidly, and he was about to be locked down. The sacred transformation state of the humanoid giant beast was truly terrifying. Its bone club shattered the air, the sonic boom drowning out even the heavenly thunder above. It seemed like an ancient, savage demon god, emerging from a temporal vortex amidst the raging storm. Qin Ming had never struggled so fiercely, teetering on the brink of life and death. His face remained calm, devoid of panic. He was determined to save others while ensuring his own survival. The humanoid war beast grew agitated. The human youth's physical strength seemed to have increased. This time, he had blocked the attack without even using heavenly light force. Though Qin Ming was still sent flying backward, blood dripping from his sword-wielding hand, he was clearly stronger than before. Qin Ming's palm throbbed with pain. The azure ointment treasure medicine had indeed taken effect, but it hadn't fundamentally altered his physical body. Continuing like this would remain dangerous. The silver giant beast charged forward, its massive frame now surprisingly agile due to its sacred transformation. It moved with the grace of an elephant dancing or a dragon plucking elegant melodies from a harp, radiating a mysterious and spiritual rhythm. However, inwardly, it felt a growing urgency. The sacred transformation was receding at a visible rate, lasting even shorter than before. With a final, piercing roar, the silver giant beast locked onto Qin Ming, its silver flame surging. It was determined to capture him at any cost, leaving colossal afterimages in the rain-soaked night as it relentlessly attacked. High above, a miniature version of Qin Ming, cloaked in torn cloth, stood poised to strike. He clutched a finger-length, luminous white exotic metal short sword, his gaze fixed on the battle below. He carefully assessed the silver war beast, whose strengths and weaknesses were equally pronounced. It possessed immense strength, rapid regeneration, and the ability to undergo sacred transformation, yet, relatively speaking, it was more physically cumbersome than other creatures of its rank. Furthermore, the effective range of its projected, beast essence, was limited, and it possessed virtually no offensive capabilities within the spiritual or mental domains. He reasoned that if he could breach its formidable defenses, specifically by piercing through the crown of its skull, the probability of successfully destroying its consciousness would be extremely high. On the ground, the silver war beast had erupted in a frenzy. Before the final ebb of its sacred transformation, it unleashed its most ferocious attack. Silver flames radiated outward, forming an invisible field that seemed to distort space and disrupt Qinming's evasive maneuvers. Die! It roared with laughter, finally cornering its opponent at the critical moment, completely enveloping him within its attack range. Though Qinming's physical body was currently devoid of heavenly light force, it began to glow with dazzling brilliance. During his first realm, he had undergone 9 awakenings. The final one, however, was an unconventional, power-accumulating, momentum-transferring awakening. Throughout this process, he had acquired 4 abilities, 3 otherworldly heavenly lights and the awakening eye. What made these otherworldly heavenly lights so extraordinary? They were remarkably unique, perfectly replicating his peak state heavenly light force, divine wisdom, and consciousness spiritual light. Moreover, they could be unleashed regardless of his current condition. However, each otherworldly heavenly light could only be used once per day. He now activated 3 otherworldly heavenly lights, and rather than casting them separately, he caused them to directly overlap and fuse, unleashing a massive, all-encompassing burst of power right here. Combined with the azure treasure pill he had consumed, which unleashed his latent potential, his current state was truly formidable. Clearly, he intended to merge heavenly light, consciousness, and divine wisdom into a single, ultimate strike. At this moment, aside from lacking the exotic metal short sword and torn cloth, he was virtually indistinguishable from the sun-like, true self, blazing in the night sky. However, instead of unleashing this power all at once, he manifested the immortal scene diagrams of various extraordinary techniques, engaging his opponent in a different, equally formidable manner. Outside Qinming's body, heavenly light surged like a tidal wave or a mountain torrent. The black-white yin-yang diagram materialized, slowly rotating to shield him within its embrace. In an instant, it transformed into twin black-white trees, their roots anchoring before him. The 5 elements sacred demonic essences emerged. The vermilion bird sacred demonic essence soared across the sky as a blazing sun, the yellow dragon sacred demonic essence solidified the earth, and the black tortoise sacred demonic essence unleashed torrential black waters. The full essence of the 5 elements materialized. As the wind control force circulated, a gentle breeze stirred, causing the twin black-white trees to sway between wither flourish cycles. Butterflies danced gracefully, while dragon serpents coiled hidden within the misty clouds. Cicadas and silkworms clung to the tree trunks, both absorbing yin-yang qi. At that moment, Qinming entered a state of ultimate attack. The scene appeared serene and vibrant, yet it caused the silver war beast's icy pupils to contract. Initially startled by the faint sense of danger, the silver war beast soon relaxed. Even Qinming's strongest attack paled in comparison to its own power. With a thunderous crash, the bone club in its hand slammed down. The twin trees erupted with intense black-white light, their yin-yang power neutralizing the beast's immense force. Moreover, the wither flourish transformation spread along the bone club, enveloping the beast's body as if to steal a century of its life. Hiss! The humanoid war beast shuddered, drawing a sharp breath. Its beast essence surged wildly, finally blocking the withered flourish scripture's life-reaping strike. This 4th realm giant beast was truly terrifying, its defensive power astonishing. In a mere instant, it had withstood over a dozen extraordinary techniques and conceptual attacks. The silver battle beast roared, its eyes glowing crimson with rage. It had been made to bleed. A golden silkworm, like a drill, pierced its flesh, unleashing a swarm of golden threads that tore through its flesh with frenzied precision. A cicada, its wings carrying sword chi and thunderlight, slammed into the beast's forehead at blinding speed, staggering it and drenching its head in blood. Qinming's heavenly light transformation manifested as the vermilion bird, azure dragon, white tiger. The 5 elements divine light blazed brilliantly as 5 great swords aligned, their swords aimed at the humanoid war beast's head. Sword light erupted in a dense barrage, unleashing hundreds, even thousands, of strikes. Roar! The silver giant beast roared, its skull nearly cleaved open as it endured the full force of its opponent's ultimate form. Furthermore, that human youth was truly a freak of nature, he seemed interested in nothing other than smashing the beast's head. Dragons and serpents danced in the air, the true essence of the dragon-serpent scripture, struck like a whip across its skull, followed by a dragon-serpent scissors strike. The Taoist imagery of the dragon-tiger Tao scripture materialized, dragon-tiger clashing fiercely above its head, their combined might resonating with the Tao, causing its skull to reverberate like a great drum being pounded. Over a dozen extraordinary phenomena converged, engulfing the silver war beast, yet ultimately failing to kill it. This confirmed Qinming's earlier prediction: he could only inflict grievous wounds, not deliver the final blow, even with the aid of the Hellion clan's precious medicine from the Imperial Immortal Sect. The 4th realm is irreversible. You cannot defy fate. Your end has come. The humanoid war beast, drenched in blood, burst through the immortal scene woven from the manifestations of various extraordinary techniques. Grinning savagely, it brandished its bone club and charged forward, intent on crushing Qinming. Qinming left behind only a butterfly and a wisp of clear wind, the Tao resonance of the immortal butterfly scripture and the wind control scripture. He soared into the sky, briefly traversing the night. Trying to escape. Not a chance. The humanoid war beast roared in pursuit, its eyelids stained crimson with blood dripping from its head. The beast essence surging within its body erupted outward, expanding its radius of attack. Qinming coughed up great mouthfuls of blood as his adversary continued to unleash a relentless torrent of beast essence. Arg! The humanoid war beast howled, feeling its sacred transformation rapidly fading. A searing pain erupted in its head, and even its speed began to falter. Just moments away from crushing the human youth completely, whose bones had already fractured in multiple places under the onslaught of beast essence. Damn it! The beast cursed, spotting the Thunder King bird swooping down to rescue its prey. This time, I won't let you escape. Its flattened face twisted into a grimace as it lunged forward, abandoning all caution, its eyes fixed solely on the heavily wounded figure ahead. In the torrential rain-soaked night, occasional lightning flashes illuminated the ravaged landscape below, a scene of utter devastation, with vast stretches of forest reduced to ruins. Silently, Qinming's main consciousness descended through the rain-soaked sky, riding his sword. At this moment, he was channeling the Silk Book to command all techniques, unleashing his ultimate form. Not even the heavens can save you now. Die. The silver war beast leapt into the air, its trajectory locked in, its face twisted with the sadistic glee of a butcher about to slaughter livestock. Suddenly, its smile froze. A searing pain erupted in its skull, blood splattering across its face and arms, mingling with the rain. Then, it felt shards of shattered bone flying away from its skull. Ah! It screamed in terror as its skull was pierced and shattered into pieces that scattered in all directions. Its head burned with unbearable heat. As a giant beast, its spiritual domain was its greatest weakness. The sudden breach of its skull plunged it into mortal danger. The torn cloth glowed, amplifying Qinming's power. So far, Qinming had discovered only two uses for it. First, its internal space formed a self-contained dimension for storage. Second, it could enhance the heavenly light force, granting a limited boost to his combat prowess. Though not a qualitative transformation, this enhancement could prove decisive in critical moments. Combined with Helion Jiaoyu's Azure Treasure Pill, the dual effects allowed Qinming to successfully pierce the humanoid war beast's skull, shatter its beast essence, and strike its vital core. The exotic metal short sword, forged from materials highly valued by divine beings and immortals, such as strange metals used in the 8 trigrams furnace and torn cloth, proved crucial. This sword specializes in disrupting heavenly light force, spiritual power, and beast essence. Now, Qinming guided the sword through the colossal skull, systematically dismantling the giant beast's feeble consciousness. At this moment, Qinming's experience was truly indescribable. Immersed within the sun-like heavenly light, his senses were far sharper than usual, yet, he felt as though he were swinging his sword through a quagmire. Or, perhaps it would be more accurate to say he was navigating through a viscous mixture of bean curd and pudding, hacking and slashing through the sticky, clinging mass. Though the sensation was utterly repulsive, Qinming endured it to kill this fourth realm powerhouse, relentlessly crushing the enemy's spirit. As the life force fluctuations of the humanoid battle beast plummeted toward rock bottom and its beast essence dissipated, Qinming's heavenly light shone forth like a blazing sun, completely incinerating the beast's head from the inside out. He emerged on his sword, instantly illuminating the ravaged forest. The torrential rain nearby was dispelled, evaporated into thin air, as white mist rose, drifting and curling like wisps of heavenly light. Of course, it would have resembled an immortal realm even more without the massive corpse, shattered skull, and scorched, tofu pudding. In his current state, Qinming naturally wouldn't be tainted by unclean things, but he still felt utterly disgusted. After extinguishing the heavenly light, he washed himself clean in the torrential rain. Only then did he return to his physical body, hefting the jade iron sword to strike at the giant beast. His main concern was ensuring its complete demise. He planned to kill it twice more for good measure. Finally, he invoked the Silk Book, harnessing its scriptural meaning to command all techniques. Activating the fusion converging heavenly light force, he burned the giant beast from head to toe. High in the night sky, the Thunder King bird watched in shock. Was this a miracle? Qinming had actually slain a fourth realm silver battle beast. It was simply unbelievable. Just moments ago, it had swooped down, perfectly synchronized with Qinming. It felt confident it could carry him skyward to evade their mortal peril. Yet, to its utter astonishment, there was no need to flee this time. They had actually defeated a formidable opponent of the fourth realm. The Thunder King bird longed to prostrate itself before the rain-soaked youth. This was a legendary feat of combat. Someone had truly killed an enemy across a great realm. The Thunder King bird landed, bowing its head in genuine submission. Its soul had been shaken to its core by this battle. The Thunder King bird trembled violently, its beak shaking so much it could barely speak. Long ago, the fourth princess of the Great Yu had declared that when Qinming reached the founding ancestor realm, he would be able to slay immortals. Now, the Thunder King bird believed that after Qinming reached the pinnacle of the founding ancestor realm, he might even be able to directly slay an earth immortal. Although crossing realms to defeat enemies became increasingly difficult as one's cultivation advanced, after all, creatures who reached the later stages were no ordinary beings, the Thunder King bird remained blindly devoted to Qinming, convinced he would one day possess such power. Enough with the bowing, get up. Qinming poured out some auspicious beast blood and offered it to the bird. This precious substance could grant creatures on any path a single nirvana, making it a peerless great medicine. Today, the Thunder King bird had not fled alone but had cooperated seamlessly with Qinming, allowing him to fight the silver giant beast without worry. At critical moments, it had even carried him to safety. Now, this extraordinary bird with its unparalleled speed had passed his test. Ah, so much. I can break through. The Thunder King bird's eyes widened, the glowing extraordinary blood far exceeding the amount it had used for healing. Overwhelmed with excitement, its voice trembled. Is this really for me? It stammered, knowing the auspicious blood was worth a fortune. Without you, Qinming said, I wouldn't have dared to fight the giant beast head-on. I certainly wouldn't have escaped its pursuit. But the situation is unstable right now, and unexpected events could occur at any moment. It's not safe for you to take it yet. I'll keep it safe for you. He then grimaced in pain, having sustained severe injuries himself, he, too, required healing. The Hellion clan's precious medicine from the Imperial Immortal sect is truly extraordinary, Qinming murmured. Moments later, his bones crackled as his entire body glowed, radiating waves of purple haze. As long as a third realm being still drew breath, this crimson life-saving elixir could restore them to full health with remarkable speed. Qinming sat in meditation for a long time, eventually fully recovering. By now, no senior figures had appeared on the scene. Across the heavens and earth, torrential rain poured down like a waterfall, a rare occurrence for late autumn. Qinming knew something major had likely occurred. He took a deep breath, hoisted the giant beast's mangled corpse, and swiftly entered the nearby dense forest to bury it temporarily. News of his slaying a fourth realm expert would undoubtedly cause a massive uproar, and some might harbor ulterior motives. Yet he refused to abandon this hard-earned merit. He resolved to consult Yu Zhensheng or Lu Zizai later, hoping they could help him exchange it for the Vajra Great Medicine, the Golden Crow Knight Illuminating Manual, or other treasures. At that moment, many residents of Qingfeng town had either taken refuge in their cellars or fled into the rain, their hearts gripped by terror. The primary cause of their panic was the terrifying roar of the beast, which had drowned out even the thunder in the night sky. Though they hadn't seen the silver war beast itself, they could clearly sense its relentless approach, plunging the entire town into abject fear. After entering the town, Qinming transmitted a calming message, it's over now. Immediately, awakeners from the second realm and Immortal Path disciples emerged to greet him, offering respectful salutations. Oh. That's the big brother who treated us to all those delicious things, so he turns out to be a guardian lord. Some children peered through windows, their eyes wide with astonishment. The panic in Qingfeng town gradually subsided. Qinming returned to the high mountain outside town, braving the rain to gaze into the distance. By now, the rain had begun to ease. A flying mount finally arrived, carrying a middle-aged man in battered armor, his wounds still bleeding. Qinming. He called out across the night sky. Qinming immediately leapt onto the back of the Thunder King bird, preparing to flee at the first sign of danger. He had reported the situation here in advance, but no experts had arrived despite the long wait, clearly indicating a problem. This mountain has been shattered. Did a fourth realm expert attack? The middle-aged man's face paled with shock. The Thunder King bird bristled with indignation. Exactly. We sent a message for reinforcements, but not a single one of you showed up. We nearly died here. The middle-aged man was stunned, struggling to believe it. You fought a fourth realm demon. You couldn't have actually killed it, could you? Qinming waved his hand, stopping the Thunder King bird from speaking. The situation is far too complex to explain quickly. If a fourth realm demon attacked, the middle-aged man said, you would have been fully justified in abandoning Qingfeng town. The superiors wouldn't blame you. Across a great realm, no one could withstand such an overwhelming force. In such a desperate situation, retreat would have been permitted. They knew Qinming possessed a Thunder King bird, assuming he had a guaranteed escape route. Even if outmatched, he could have withdrawn with ease. The middle-aged man found it absurd that Qinming had apparently briefly engaged a fourth realm demon. You didn't retreat. Did you actually kill it? Or did someone else scare it off? The middle-aged man, named Qi Yu, was a high-ranking expert from the secret sect. Qinming had no intention of prolonging the conversation. I'll report this matter to my superiors in detail, he said. Many unusual events have occurred today. Qi Yu sighed. Don't blame us. A crisis has erupted in this region, demons have crossed the border and attacked Luguang City. The city may have already fallen. What? Though Qin had suspected something was amiss, the news still shocked him. Was this the prelude to a full-scale war? Luguang City was the largest city in the region, overseeing dozens of smaller towns. Though not particularly large in scale, it held significant symbolic importance. The city was garrisoned by Fourth Realm experts. This demon incursion wasn't a mere provocation against a town-level area, it was a direct attack on the city itself. Was this a final probing attack, or the prelude to a decisive battle? Several of us were patrolling the region when we were attacked. 2 comrades were killed, and another was critically wounded. Only my injuries were relatively minor. Qiyu and the other patrol members were all Fourth Realm experts. He revealed that a middle-aged man from the Five Elements Palace had died in battle. Before his last breath, the man had encountered Qiyu and urged him to rush here to provide reinforcements. He was Elder Jin Yuan's junior disciple from the Five Elements Palace. Upon hearing this, Qinming exhaled a long, turbid breath. The joy of slaying the silver giant beast had completely dissipated. Even a Fourth Realm expert from the Five Elements Palace had attempted to rescue him before dying at the hands of demons. Since you're unharmed, I must immediately head to Luguang City. Let's hope it hasn't become blood-soaked city, Qiyu said, preparing to depart on his flying mount. Qinming asked, have Third Realm demons been mobilized? Are they also causing chaos? I received reports that a large group of Third Realm demons is converging on the White Elephant Ridge area, not far from Luguang City. With Fourth Realm demons wreaking havoc on the front lines, the younger demons are seizing the opportunity to join the fray, Qiyu replied, before soaring away. He rushed to reinforce Luguang City, where the situation was dire. In this remote region, all Fourth Realm demons had breached the defenses, except for the Silver War beasts, massive, non-transforming monsters too large to pass through. A major battle among the higher realms is likely imminent. Even the Thunder King bird sensed the impending crisis. The founding ancestors had insisted on containing the demonic threat beyond the borders. Now that a city had fallen, the Sixth Realm founding ancestors would likely intervene, possibly even triggering a divine war. We're going to White Elephant Ridge, Qinming declared. A streak of light tore through the night sky as the Thunder King bird carried him toward the ridge, 80 miles away, arriving with lightning speed. Many town guardians like him had rushed to reinforce the area, which was now a scene of utter chaos, with demonic chi surging into the sky. From a distance, Qinming witnessed a Third Realm cultivator from the esoteric sect unleashing thunder strikes to shatter a powerful demon, only to be impaled through the chest by a demon blade. The battlefield was a gruesome spectacle, the mountain ridges stained crimson with blood, littered with severed limbs. First and Second Realm cultivators had no chance of survival here. Riding the Thunder King bird, Qinming soared through the air, instantly slaying 4 Third Realm demonic birds. Their skulls shattered, they plummeted from the sky. An immortal seed. A demon shouted, alerting the others. A group of demons formed a battle formation and advanced upon him, while others transmitted messages toward the distance, seemingly summoning reinforcements. Qinming. Someone recognized him. Others quickly relayed the situation. Immortal Seed in Yuxing has fallen in battle. He severely wounded 2 heavenly demon seeds shortly before his death. Alas! One of the heavenly demon seeds was critically injured and had retreated to heal, while the other remained nearby, guarding him. Qinming froze, stunned to learn that an Immortal Path seed had been fighting in the same area and had already perished. In the Kunling realm, Qinming and Yuxing had experienced some minor conflicts, testing each other's heavenly light force. It wasn't a major clash, but it left a lingering impression. Now, hearing that this immortal seed had faced 2 heavenly demon seeds head-on, refusing to retreat, and ultimately died in battle, Qinming felt deeply moved. Where are those 2 heavenly demon seeds? He demanded. They're back in that area over there. Someone called out, pointing the way. The Thunder King bird transformed into a bolt of lightning and swooped down at breakneck speed. The 2 heavenly demon seeds revealed themselves, taking up a defensive stance on a sloping hillside to confront the powerful adversary who had suddenly appeared before them. Qinming had just emerged from a bloody battle against a Fourth Realm giant beast, his momentum was currently soaring, and his heart surged with an overwhelming killing intent. Facing these 2 heavenly demon seeds, who were merely at the early stages of the Third Realm, he bore down upon them with sheer, crushing force. The 2 demons gasped in shock. They were wounded the moment the battle began, coughing up blood from the force of Qinming's heavenly light force. Qinming's trump card had proven ineffective against the Fourth Realm humanoid war beast, but against these 2 heavenly demon seeds, it granted him an overwhelming advantage, an unstoppable force. Activating the golden silkworm force, he unleashed a dense web of golden, thread-like heavenly light that sliced through the air, ultimately tearing one of the heavenly demon seeds into pieces. Ah! Soon, the second heavenly demon seed let out a piercing scream as it was slain on the blood-soaked hillside. Qinming relentlessly slaughtered demons until the slope was littered with corpses. The remaining demons fled, bringing the battle at White Elephant Ridge to an end. The Night Prefecture forces quickly withdrew to avoid being trapped by the great demon lords. Qinming frowned deeply, inwardly lamenting that time was running out. In this dire environment, even immortal seeds were beginning to fall in battle. Having slain 4 heavenly demon seeds himself, he knew it was only a matter of time before a great demon set its sights on him. Moreover, with Lu Guang City shattered and its streets stained crimson, the founding ancestors would inevitably launch a full-scale counterattack. The final, decisive battle was drawing near. Qinming sighed. In this brutal reality, he had no choice but to break through his cultivation bottleneck. Chen Dong author's note. Some readers argue that the protagonist shouldn't have concerned himself with the lives of the townspeople at all, that he was being far too saintly or soft-hearted. Others claim that the protagonist was far too indecisive in weighing his options and hesitating. They believe he should have charged forward without hesitation, slaughtering his way through. I'd like to ask these two groups of readers, why do you completely ignore each other's existence? You really ought to sit down and have a proper debate amongst yourselves. Personally, I see absolutely nothing wrong with the protagonist attempting to save people. However, he's not a fool. He understands that recklessly charging forward when he knows he can't change anything would be pointless. He's a compassionate young man with his own moral boundaries. Within the limits of his capabilities, he strives to do his absolute best to save others. The third-tier king bird possessing the movement speed of a fourth-tier cultivator, the tattered cloth can amplify his heavenly light force, and the green ointment allows for a sudden burst of latent potential. None of these were added arbitrarily on the fly, they had all been established in earlier chapters. Now, regarding the second issue, some readers complain that the protagonist is too weak, that he struggled far too much against a mere silver war beast, and that his body seemed as fragile as paper, implying a severe nerf to his combat prowess. Conversely, others argue that the protagonist is too strong, that his power level has become absurdly exaggerated, and that, realistically speaking, he shouldn't have stood a chance of winning at all. As for this particular debate, I'll leave it to the two sides to engage in a friendly exchange of views. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Netherworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 325, Breaking Through the Heavenly Gate, 2 chapters combined. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. After an autumn rain, the trees across the vast plains stood bare, their yellow leaves carpeting the ground. Qinming had already learned that the demonic forces had breached Lu Guang City, and the scene there was utterly tragic. The corpses of Fourth Realm cultivators hung from the city gate tower, their blood staining the walls crimson. Inside the city, the devastation was even more shocking. Bloodstains marred every surface, and buildings lay in ruins. In this battle, both sides suffered heavy losses, with a significant number of high-level experts falling in the fray. Qinming muttered to himself, this region is considered remote, yet the fighting has reached this point. It seems the small-scale conflicts are ending. A major war is imminent. He retrieved the auspicious beast blood and offered it to the Thunder King bird. Consume this quickly and focus on strengthening yourself. Understood, the Thunder King bird nodded gratefully. In such a tense environment, any increase in power meant a greater chance of survival. Qinming also produced a transparent spiritual crystal, within which a precious medicine pill was sealed. This pill was substantial, nearly as large as a man's fist, a true great pill. Within its snow-white, crystalline matrix flowed faint black veins. This was the Dragon Tiger Pill, personally refined by Sun Taichu, the founding ancestor of the Immortal Path. It was an immensely valuable great medicine. Although Qinming possessed extraordinary blood, it wasn't enough to break through to the next major realm. During his trial in the Divine Lament Fall Plains with the 6 Imperial Ancestral Court, he had obtained 8 types of extraordinary blood, which had only allowed him to undergo a single awakening. Now, to break through to the next major realm, he needed a powerful remedy. Qinming muttered to himself, there's nothing to regret. Precious elixirs are meant to aid cultivation. An ancestor-level war could erupt at any moment, and the demonic civilization will undoubtedly go mad. In such a massive bloodbath, I must first ensure my own survival. Moreover, as his strength increased, he could acquire even greater resources from the battlefield. The death of Immortal Seed in Yuxing had deeply shaken Qinming. He might have escaped, but as an Immortal Seed, if he had been the first to flee, it would have led to a complete rout. He stood his ground, choosing to fight the opposing heavenly demon seed to the death, severely wounding it and temporarily forcing both demons to retreat. This showed that even immortal seeds lacked so-called guardian protectors. Perhaps due to insufficient manpower, or perhaps the immortal path intended for them to forge their own path through the line between life and death, tempering true seeds in the bloody war between civilizations, only the victors would become gold. Most of the 6th Realm founding ancestors alive today were Grandmasters, Immortal Seeds, and Divine Seeds who survived the Great War on the Divine Lament Plains 450 years ago. Qinming viewed this as a life or death trial. Crucially, the situation was indeed dire. Should any further complications arise, he could no longer harbor any hope for reinforcements from the rear, he would have to rely entirely upon his own strength. Qin snapped a spiritual crystal, retrieved the precious medicine, crushed it into several pieces, and swallowed them. In an instant, faint roars of dragons and tigers echoed from the mountaintop as the great medicine began to take effect. A surge of heat rushed through his limbs and meridians. The medicine's effects were fierce, causing phantom images of dragons and tigers to materialize before a mysterious Tao resonance enveloped his body. Qin sat calmly on a massive boulder, awaiting the complete dissolution of the medicine's power. While I am currently in the second realm, I am likely no match for the immortal seeds or celestial demon seeds who have reached the late stage of the third realm, he muttered to himself, one of the reasons he was so eager to break through to the next realm. During this period, the heavenly demon seeds and hunter civilization seeds he had killed were all in the early third realm. Through his battle with the Silver War Beast, he had further estimated his own limits. In a fair fight, he would have stood no chance against a fourth realm cultivator. This time, he had only succeeded through an ambush, and even then, his combat power had been significantly boosted by the combined effects of the torn cloth, azure treasure pill, and other enhancements. Even with these advantages, he had still consumed life-saving purple elixirs multiple times. Without the precious medicine to sustain him, he would have been crippled on several occasions. As the Dragon Tiger Great Medicine dissolved, yin and yang harmonized, and Tao resonance surged. The energy flowed not only into the flesh and blood of his entire body but also into his spiritual domain, merging with his heavenly light. What a magnificent medicine! He exclaimed in admiration. On the mountaintop under the night sky, a miraculous scene unfolded before Qin. Threads of silver light descended from the void, while faint wisps of dark light spread, seeping into his body. This was the Dragon Tiger Great Medicine, drawing upon the spiritual essence of the void and channeling Tao resonance to aid in breaking through major barriers. Qin rose to his feet, seizing the opportune moment to fuse with a wind attribute otherworldly anomalous substance. Like the origin of the yellow dragon, this substance had been obtained from the sacred demonic essence of the Sun Elf clan. Upon reaching the third realm, he planned to draw upon the techniques and experiences detailed in the Tyrant's Testament. The wind attribute's sacred demonic essence would prove invaluable to him. In fact, back in the Great Yu Imperial capital, the Sun Elf clan had prepared one of the 4 sacred demonic essences, but Grandmaster Su Yuxiao of the Immortal Path had intercepted it, acquiring it at a high price. Qin scoffed at this, letting them have their way. They sought to prevent him from completing the 4 sacred demonic essences, unaware that he had already fused them into his very being. In this great era, some stood tall, seeing far and wide with grand vision, while others remained fixated on their limited patch of land. Every kind of person existed. As expected, no matter the time or circumstance, the sacred demonic essence fusion always drains one's lifespan. Fortunately, he now had the yin-yang treasure medicine to compensate, not only preserving his lifespan but even extending it. In the night sky, wisps and threads of black and white Tao resonance permeated the air, forming a mystical link with Qin. They infused his Jing vital essence Qi energy and Shen spirit, aiding him in his monumental task of shattering the heavenly gate. The true nature of this profound substance, or rather, this mysterious phenomenon, astonished even Qin. Could a single medicinal pill truly possess such formidable power? And now, I, too, can afford such extravagance for my breakthrough. No matter which path one chooses, if one wishes to travel far along it, one cannot do without scarce resources. Relatively speaking, the potent elixirs and rare treasures he consumed certainly could not compare to those utilized by the seeds, the elite prodigies, on the immortal path. After all, the great yin-yang elixir had originally been refined by Sun Taichu, thus, Qichong would naturally have no shortage of it. As for Cao Qianqiu, for the sake of Li Qingshu, he had even braved a true, dragon's water-sucking phenomenon, to obtain, dragon blood, for his disciple. Afterward, Qin began cultivating the Earth Scripture, an extraordinary technique meticulously studied by Yu Zhensheng and Zhao Ziwan, with a corresponding secret manual. Once he reached the third realm and stepped into the spiritual domain, this scripture would prove invaluable to him. Having already mastered the earth force and now aided by the precious medicine, he naturally accelerated its refinement to perfection. Soon, Qin formed his hands into a sword-gripping position, his entire body radiating light as if standing within a great sun, dazzlingly bright. Then, he slowly drew a sword from the void. Though nothing was there, as he moved, the mountain peak truly resonated with a metallic clang, accompanied by blinding sword light expanding outward. He was practicing the elven race's sun immortal sword technique. The Thunder King bird, having just consumed auspicious beast blood, was startled and quickly flapped its wings to fly into the night sky, narrowly avoiding the expanding sword light. As Qin moved, a sword hilt materialized in his empty hand, accompanied by a cascade of golden characters. With a clang, he drew forth a golden longsword that illuminated the night sky. Its chilling sword intent, and terrifying sword light erupted outward like a tempest. Quite impressive. Its power is extraordinary. Qinming nodded in satisfaction, stopping at the right moment, refraining from unleashing the full strike. In his hands, the Sun Immortal Sword technique was far more powerful than in Li Guang's. Channeling the heavenly light, which he had fused with divine wisdom and consciousness, he briefly drew the sword. In that fleeting instant, it already bore the formidable momentum to cleave through any foe. Having refined the sacred demonic essence and cultivated extraordinary techniques, Qinming finally sat cross-legged on a massive boulder, silently circulating his fundamental scripture, the Silk Book technique. After an indeterminate period, the wisps of light in the void grew brighter, trembling slightly as they connected to Qinming. Dao resonance enveloped his entire body, erupting in blinding golden radiance. At this moment, his flesh and blood became translucent, his spirit overflowing with vitality. The dragon-tiger energies merged within him, shattering the obstruction of the heavenly gate. He had officially stepped into the third realm, the spiritual domain. The night passed, yet he felt not a shred of fatigue. His physical and mental state was better than it had ever been before. Qinming stood atop the mountain peak, his long hair billowing in the gentle breeze of shallow night. His body shimmered, and the space around him seemed to twist and blur. He was comprehending his own transformation. The heavenly light grew increasingly dense, expanding outward and permeating his being, while his body became ever more resilient, forming a domain. This domain was imbued with profound spirituality and extraordinary properties, capable of actively drawing in the spiritual substance of heaven and earth, and absorbing otherworldly heavenly light, like a magnet attracting iron filings. When the human body merges with the heavenly light, it becomes akin to a nebulous, spiritual domain. Qinming tested his newfound abilities. Invisible ripples expanded from his body, capable of instantly crushing approaching opponents. As he exerted his power, it felt as though he had created a small, self-contained world around himself. He opened his awakening eye and saw strands of spiritual domain lines densely filling every inch of space, enveloping him in protection. There are various powerful systems of spiritual domains, some of which are legendary, like the Sumeru domain and the Heavenly Demon Force domain, all incredibly formidable. However, for ordinary awakeners, let alone mastering those legendary fields, even the creation of a standard spiritual domain proves a daunting task. Most attempts are riddled with flaws. Through the Silk Book, I've achieved a preliminary spiritual domain that is flawless and evenly distributed. Its defensive and offensive capabilities are astonishing. Yet this was merely a nascent form. As his cultivation deepened and his realm advanced, his spiritual domain would undergo further transformation. Undoubtedly, after breaking through to the third realm, Qinming was filled with the aura of awakening. Both his physical body and spirit had undergone a nirvana-like transformation, resulting in a significant increase in his strength. He didn't stop there, instead beginning to refine the heavenly light force and temper his spiritual domain. He would never forget the fate of the founding ancestors, all of whom had ultimately exploded. Although Qinming felt he had resolved the issues with the Silk Book, he remained cautious, refining the 100 refinements heavenly light force with meticulous care during each breakthrough. Throughout the entire morning, thunderfire erupted, and the wind and thunder arrays roared. His heavenly light and spiritual domain merged into a single, cohesive entity, continuously compressing within the alchemy furnace to forge the golden core. He then released and disintegrated it, sending the force surging outward. Qinming had never worked so hard, even during his previous breakthroughs. This time, he cultivated for a full half-day, refining the golden core's spiritual domain over 100 times. Only when he felt it had reached absolute perfection, without a single flaw, did he cease. At the third realm, one can still cultivate extraordinary techniques, but it's also time to delve into secret manuals. Theoretically, extraordinary techniques shine brightest in the third realm, marking their peak. They can even be practiced into the mid to late fourth realm, but become less useful in the fifth realm. Therefore, Qinming wasn't in a hurry to abandon his extraordinary technique for a secret manual. He stretched his body, feeling an inexhaustible surge of power. After breaking through to the spiritual domain, he experienced a delusion of invincibility, as if he could shatter the night sky with a single punch and crush all obstacles. He even felt an urge to go beat up Cao Qianqiu. Calm down. You've only reached the early stage of the third realm. Don't let this power go to your head. He knew this was due to the rapid increase in his strength, causing a temporary imbalance between his mind and body. Afterward, he consolidated his new realm, fully adapting to the changes. Well, regardless, in the major confrontation between the Night Prefecture and the demonic civilization, if everyone goes berserk, I'll at least have the initial ability to protect myself. Of course, this was only in remote areas. If he entered the ancestors' battlefield, even a Grandmaster would turn to ash in an instant. The Thunder King bird landed, its feathers shimmering with a radiant purple glow, the lightning aura around it even more intense. Its presence felt noticeably stronger. Master, for an awakener to reach the third realm at your age is truly extraordinary, an unparalleled anomaly. This was the first time it had addressed him as Master. Qin felt awkward and stopped it. No, let's stick to calling each other brothers. Just call me Brother Qin. How are you doing? The Thunder King bird replied, I've been practicing a secret technique to accumulate energy. Most of the auspicious blood essence has been stored now. In time, I should be able to break through to the fourth realm. Can you transform into a thunder monarch bird? Qin asked with a smile. Alas, the monarch bird is the pinnacle of our race's innate talent, and they are exceedingly rare. The most outstanding among them are equivalent to immortal seeds. Though I yearn for such a level, I know in my heart that I will never reach it in this lifetime, the Thunder King bird replied, shaking its head. It was an optimistic creature. After a brief moment of reflection, it smiled again, content with its current achievements. In truth, it understood that it would likely only accompany Qin in battle for a time. As his strength surged, there would inevitably come a day when it could no longer keep pace. In the future, I can boast to my descendants, see. That ancestor Qin who could slay Earth immortals in the sixth realm was once my partner. It was already fantasizing about this. Qin said, nothing is absolute. In the depths of the night mist world lie countless mysterious regions. Perhaps there you'll find heavenly materials, rare flowers, and exotic fruits that can refine your essence and enhance your innate talent. If we ever venture into the wilderness, anything is possible. The Thunder King bird knew this was merely a comfort. In truth, if Qin could become a Grand Master in his old age, it would be more than enough. Moments later, Qin consciousness, now saturated with the most concentrated heavenly light, actually broke free from the constraints of his physical body and stepped into the void on his own. Though the Thunder King bird wasn't seeing this for the first time, it couldn't remain calm. Such a state clearly resembled the pure yang transformation of consciousness spiritual light, a technique belonging to the immortal clans. Qin left a sliver of his consciousness in his body, then donned a torn cloth, took his exotic metal short sword, and soared into the sky. Now that his physique was exceptionally strong, having mastered the physical body chapter and advanced through nirvana into the third realm, even his pure physical power could rival demons of the same realm. This allowed him to venture far with confidence. Wrapped in the torn cloth to conceal the dazzling heavenly light, Qin pierced through the night mist at breakneck speed, then broke through the thick clouds to finally stand atop the heavens. Though the expanse was vast, it still felt desolate, empty, void-like, and unnervingly silent. Freed from his physical form, Qin could finally traverse the night sky, passing through clouds and mist to vanish in an instant. The experience was utterly novel and exhilarating. He soared upward again, the gale wind howling above him. Streams of light streaked across the sky, and dangerous, mysterious substances rained down. As he ascended, he began to feel discomfort. The peculiar substances in the upper atmosphere could harm his consciousness, and the gale wind grew more ferocious, carrying strands of violent Tao resonance that seemed capable of scattering his dense heavenly light. Though the torn cloth protects me, it's best not to venture too deep on my first visit to such a place, Qin thought. He had originally wanted to fly higher to see what the otherworldly realm truly looked like. There will be plenty of time to explore slowly, he said, a sense of joy rising within him. After all, above the dark clouds and beneath the vast sky, heavenly light and falling fire occasionally descended. Some of these substances were extremely beneficial for cultivation. The heavens above are a treasure trove waiting to be developed. Qin pondered. If the seeds of the immortal path could undergo tribulation crossing at the heavens under the guidance of sect elders, tempering their consciousness and spiritual light into pure yang through exposure to these peculiar substances and phenomena, then perhaps he could also use this method to enhance his own strength in the heavens. Suddenly, he spotted a dark shadow in the distance. In this vast, desolate realm, any movement was truly startling. In an instant, Qin sank into the dark clouds. The enemy was actually moving toward him, shattering the mist as they rapidly closed in. Soon, Qin sensed what they were, several bird demons. No wonder I've felt something amiss lately. They've been hiding in the clouds, spying on me. Could they be planning to attack? In a flash, Qin drew his sword and slashed through the sky. With a series of PFFT sounds, the heads of several bird demons exploded, and they plummeted from the sky. One of the bird demons was ancient, likely in the late third realm. Old-timers have no sense of honor, always trying to bully this young man. Qin patrolled the clouds, his sword still dripping with blood. Finally, he felt a strain. He estimated he had been away from his physical body for about an hour, and his spirit was growing weary. He didn't want to push his luck. With a whoosh, he plummeted downward, returning to his body. Instantly, his spirit surged with renewed vigor, warmth spreading through him like a fish leaping from dry land back into the lake, or a plant pulled from the soil re-rooting itself in the earth. The Thunder King bird let out a long sigh of relief at his return. It had been terrified by the 6 bird corpses that had recently crashed down nearby, their bodies crackling as they fell. Qin Ming's expression turned grave. His enemies remained relentless, and with the Black-White Sparrow and Huang Fei, the Jade Emperor's brother, having fallen here, someone had clearly set their sights on him. Moreover, he had previously struck at White Elephant Ridge, killing 2 heavenly demon seeds. The demons in that area were likely sharpening their blades, and when all was said and done, he had accumulated quite a few blood feuds. Why hasn't the founding ancestor made his move yet? Qin Ming wondered, his suspicion growing. Just then, a terrifying explosion suddenly echoed from afar. Deep within the plain before him, the night sky crackled with lightning and thunder, ablaze with fire and distorted magnetic lines. Grandmaster-level figures are clashing. Qin Ming was genuinely startled. Such a massive battle in this remote region was clearly abnormal. Is this the Night Prefecture's experts retaliating for the breach of Luguang City? Qin Ming speculated. He had originally thought the founding ancestors would be the ones to engage in a major battle on the ancestor battlefield. He never expected the conflict would still be confined to this remote area. Qin Ming's expression grew solemn. The later an ancestor-level expert entered the fray, the more terrifying the final confrontation would be, suggesting a cataclysmic clash was imminent. Half an hour later, 2 figures emerged, their auras radiating immense power. Though both were quite aged, Qin Ming didn't flee on his Thunder King bird. Instead, he remained rooted to the spot. 2 injured high-grade exotic birds arrived, carrying 2 elderly men, Yu Zhensheng and Jin Yuan. It turned out they were leading the charge today. Child, we're relieved you're safe, the 2 men said, their faces beaming despite the bloodstains covering their bodies. Seniors, did you attack the enemy's side? Qin Ming asked in surprise. Yesterday, the demonic civilization shattered our Luguang city. How could we let them pay so little? We had to strike back today, Yu Zhensheng replied, his head of over 100 blood-stained strands of hair fluttering in the wind. In this battle, they had joined forces with 2 grandmasters from the esoteric sect and 2 from the immortal path, totaling 4 grandmasters. Together, they had not only ravaged this remote region but also shattered the demon armies in the neighboring territories. We killed 2 grandmasters of the demonic civilization, and another's physical body was destroyed, his consciousness spiritual light escaping, Jin Yuan said, listing their achievements. As for demons of lower ranks, they had slaughtered countless more, every demon they encountered was put to the sword. Senior Jin, your junior nephew. Qin Ming began. Clearly, Jin Yuan had assigned him to this region with his junior nephew in mind, hoping the man would look after him. As it turned out, Jin Yuan's junior nephew died in battle ahead of schedule. Jin Yuan sighed, how can war be fought without casualties? Even multiple grandmasters have fallen. He had returned more than 10 days ago and, after consuming an extremely rare great medicine, had fully recovered. Xiao Qin, if you encounter an old demon you can't defeat, retreat immediately. Don't try to fight it head-on, Yu Zhensheng advised. When Jin Yuan informed Yu Zhensheng that Qin Ming had killed 4 heavenly demon seeds, old Yu rushed over immediately. Clearly, both Jin Yuan and Yu Zhensheng were highly vigilant. They suspected that the death of 4 heavenly demon seeds might draw the enemy's attention to Qin Ming. With Night Prefecture eager to avenge the destruction of Luguang City, they immediately acted as intermediaries, contacting 2 other grandmasters and launching a coordinated attack that day. Whether the enemy had retaliation in mind or not, a large group of demons had been wiped out anyway. Major events of the heavenly transformation level could occur at the main battlefield at any time. Be extremely careful here, they warned. Their departure was hurried. For experts of their caliber, maintaining their physical health meant they needed to be stationed in strategic locations. Senior, I killed a 4th realm demon. Before leaving, Yu Zhensheng and Jin Yuan were stunned by the corpse of the silver war beast. They found it hard to believe that a mere youth could have slain it alone. After killing it, I also broke through to the 3rd realm, Qin Ming informed them. As Yu Zhensheng and Jin Yuan departed, they were still dazed, their faces trembling. The whole thing felt utterly absurd. In the following days, Qin Ming honed his spiritual domain, studied the Tyrant's Testament, and delved into various true scriptures, quietly awaiting the inevitable disruption of his peace. During this time, the Thunder King bird made daily sorties to gather news about Qin Ming's acquaintances. Mountain Lord, I finally found you. On the 6th day, a familiar voice called out. Speaking Sparrow, perched atop the Thunder King bird, landed before Qin Ming, tears streaming down his face as he poured out his grievances. How did you get here? Qin Ming was genuinely surprised. Never mind me. Mountain Lord, a brother of yours is in danger. You need to check on him. The immortal seeds and divine seeds are locked in a bloody battle with the heavenly demon seeds of the demon faction. His current location is quite unsafe. Qin Ming had initially been indifferent to the matter of the sword duel. However, when he learned that the region involved a close friend, he immediately became concerned. He hadn't yet tested his sword's edge since breaking through his cultivation. If necessary, he would naturally wield his sword to slay demons and bathe in the blood of future heavenly demons, all to rescue his old friend from trouble. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.